Chapter 46-37. I also want my face. Master Ouyang was very embarrassed. He glared at Yun Chujiu and spouted nonsense. How could he, the dignified sect master of the Nameless Sword sect, have a grand disciple rabbit? The others couldn't help but laugh. Grand disciple? To think that she could think of such a thing. Wan Pengcheng was stunned for a moment, and then said in a flustered and exasperated manner, Yun Chujiu, I don't care what grand disciple you say. When I saw that rabbit, it was clearly running around on its own. I didn't see you at all. Yun Chujiu heard this and sighed. She pointed at her own head and said, You saw it too. I was struck into a bald spot. I also want to save face, okay? So I hid behind the rabbit and secretly walked it to avoid being laughed at by others. You hit my rabbit without asking about the right and wrong. It was clearly intentional. Master Ouyang thought to himself, save face? With someone like you, you probably don't know what face is. Even Wan Pengcheng's heart was beating a little. Could it really be so? It was true. He had only chased her for a short while when this bitch appeared. Perhaps she had really hidden behind them. Elder Dongfang came out to smooth things over. Everyone, I think this is just a misunderstanding. Why don't we just let it go so that we won't hurt the peace? Elder Gu also said, That's right. Wan Pengcheng wasn't really injured. Little Nine also had a reason for this. Let's just put this matter behind us. Elder Wan was furious. What did he mean by not being injured? Didn't you see that his grandson's face was swollen like a pig's head? And the injuries on his body couldn't be healed for at least 8 to 10 days. How preposterous. However, at this point, what could he say? If the stalemate continued, that damned girl would definitely insist that Pengcheng had scolded that old fogey Ouyang. Forget it, she wouldn't be able to bounce around for long anyway. Thinking of this, Elder Wan snorted coldly and said, All right, since everyone has said so, this matter ends here. Goodbye. After Elder Wan finished speaking, he didn't care about Master Ouyang's reaction and immediately got someone to carry Wan Pengcheng away. When the others saw that there was nothing else, they also left one after another. In the end, only He Xinjiu and Master Ouyang were left. Master Ouyang slammed the table. Little Jiu, tell me the truth. Did that Wan Pengcheng scold me or not? He Xinjiu blinked. Master, even if he didn't scold me, he still thought so in his heart. I only helped him to say it in advance. Master Ouyang. Master, everyone knows that old thing, Elder Wan, wants to usurp the throne. If you tolerate him so much, it's like raising a tiger to cause trouble. He Xinjiu began to change the topic without batting an eyelid. Sure enough, Master Ouyang's attention was successfully diverted. He sighed, how could I not know? But he has many followers. If he makes a move, it will affect the whole body. Our Nameless Sword sect might suffer a great loss. Therefore, I have been maintaining the surface harmony. Don't provoke him again in the future. He Xinjiu shook her head like a rattledrum. Master, what you said is wrong. What's the saying? Yes, a boil will eventually come out. Your negative approach will only increase his arrogance. In my opinion, even if his vitality is greatly damaged, it's still much better than this internal conflict. If this continues, sooner or later, our Nameless Sword sect will fall apart. At that time, it won't be a great loss of vitality, but a complete death. Chapter 46-38. Qiying, who was suppressed Master Ouyang, knew what Yun Chujiu was talking about, but as the sect leader, he had a lot of considerations and scruples, so he didn't make a move. Master, how about this? Let's let Elder Wan make the first move. Then, we will have the moral high ground. No one can say anything against you. He Xinjiu blinked and said. Master Ouyang said with a wry smile, Elder Wan is a cunning and scheming man. The reason why he has been holding back is to find the right opportunity. Why would he make a move rashly? That's because he hasn't met me yet. Don't worry. After I've been a demon for a few times, he won't be able to hold back anymore. He will definitely take action. You just need to send someone to keep an eye on him and prepare for a response. As for provoking him, just leave it to me. I'm the best at this. Hei Shinjo said confidently. Master Ouyang was still a little hesitant. I'll think about it. You should go back first and don't cause any more trouble. Yunchujo secretly curled her lips. This cheap master was too indecisive. If she had killed Elder Wan long ago when he had bad intentions, why would she still keep him here? Although this fellow thought so in his heart, he said, Master, please think about it carefully. I promise to be obedient and not cause any trouble for you. Master Ouyang nodded and waved his hand to signal her to leave. Hei Shinjo walked to the door and turned back, saying, Oh right, Master, you still have Zhuang Hong? I think he has most likely hooked up with Elder Wan. Please don't raise a wolf cub. Send someone to keep an eye on him. Maybe Elder Wan will use him to poison you or something. Please be careful. It's simply breaking my heart. Sigh. Hei Shinjo did not care about Master Ouyang's reaction after she finished speaking. She walked away with her hands behind her back. Master Ouyang looked at Hei Xinjius back in a daze. He was inexplicably touched. Although this little disciple had not been taken in for long, he was sincerely thinking of him. Thinking of Zhuang Hong, Master Ouyang frowned. Sigh, his taste in choosing disciples was really not that good. The first disciple was stupid, and the second disciple was evil. Only this little disciple that he had sent himself to take in was not bad, but it was a pity that she was a girl. Sigh. After leaving Master Ouyang's courtyard, Yun Chujo strolled back. In her mind, she planned that as long as she killed Elder Wan and his henchmen, the Nameless Sword sect would be hers. Then, she would urge Master Ouyang and the other sects to join forces to kill the 9 pavilions. Just as this fellow was thinking happily, but Face's voice came from his spiritual sense. Little fairy, that little shadow has woken up and is clamoring for you to find a body for him again. Beat him up until he is obedient. If he keeps clamoring about self-detonating his primordial spirit, tell him what happened to the last devil who threatened me to self-detonate my primordial spirit, Yun Chujo said faintly. But Face immediately said to Qi Ying, who was shouting loudly, the little fairy said that if you don't behave yourself, we will continue to beat you up until even Chu Mo doesn't recognize you. Also, don't think that you can threaten the little fairy by self-destructing your primordial spirit. The last demon who threatened the little fairy by self-destructing his primordial spirit was eaten by the little fairy. Do as you see fit. Qi Ying, who was happily shouting, immediately quieted down with a dumbfounded look on his face. This smelly girl could actually devour her primordial spirit? How was this possible? Even the legendary ghost ancestor was not so evil. Chapter 4639. Chu Fang's request for help. Hei Shinjo yawned as she strolled to the courtyard where she was temporarily staying. She had been struck by lightning the night before, and she had been a little sleepy after being a demon. From afar, she could see Chu Fang pacing back and forth at the entrance of her courtyard. When Chu Fang saw that Yun Chujo had returned, he hurriedly came forward to welcome her. Junior sister Yun, has your fiancé left? Chu Fang asked anxiously. Yun Chujo nodded. Senior brother Chu, is there something you want to talk to me about? Chu Fang said impatiently, Junior sister Yun, let's talk inside. Yun Chujo was secretly happy, but she still opened the courtyard door and brought Chu Fang into the house. As soon as they entered the house, Chu Fang said with a frown, Junior sister Yun, you're finally back. I was so worried. I can't get in touch with Little Moon at all, and I don't know how she is now. Chu Fang's face immediately turned red, and he muttered, how did you know? Yun Chujo rolled her eyes. She was not a fool, so of course she could guess. Tell me, what's going on? Are you and Little Moon already cooked rice? I didn't expect you to have such guts. Yun Chujo teased. Chu Fang immediately became anxious. Junior sister Yun, what are you talking about? We aren't married yet. How could I do such a thing? We just met in private, and in the end, Little Moon was captured by Island Master Chi's men. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. It was just a private meeting, why are you blushing? It made her think that the two of them had already slept together. Junior sister Yun, last time when Little Moon met me, she said that Island Master Chi wanted to arrange a marriage for her and one of her senior brothers. I was afraid that after she was captured, Island Master Chi would make the two of them get engaged in a rage. Little Moon's temper is also anxious. What if something happens? I'm really anxious to death. Chu Fong said uneasily. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes again. Senior brother Chu, are you stupid? Little Moon is Island Master Chi's beloved disciple. Even if it's a marriage, she has to send invitations to all the major sects, right? It can't be a silent marriage, right? Taking a step back, so what if they are engaged? Aren't they not married yet? Just snatch them. Chu Fong. That's right, why didn't he think of this? Yun Chujio looked at Chu Fang's silly look and shook her head. If she didn't make a move, with his silly look, would he still want to marry Little Moon? In the next life. Senior brother Chu, you should go back first. After I'm done with the things in front of me, they'll bring you to the Flying Flower Island. I guarantee that Island Master Chi will agree to marry Little Moon to you. Yun Chujio yawned and said. Although Chu Fong didn't quite believe it, Yun Chujio's words made him feel more at ease. Seeing that Yun Chujio was very tired, he didn't say anything more and left. Yun Chujio shook her head and didn't take off her coat. She lay on the bed and prepared to catch up on her sleep. At this moment, her dantian was in pain. Hei Shinjo quickly looked inside her dantian and saw that the black bead was jumping. Hei Shinjo was in so much pain that she broke out in a cold sweat. Glass ball, are you crazy? Calm down. The black bead continued jumping as if it had not heard her. Hei Shinjo was in so much pain that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. Black bead's dissatisfied mood was transmitted through her divine sense. Yun Chujio suddenly understood the reason why the black bead was causing such a ruckus. Did this fellow want her to look for the nameless sword sex bead now? Chapter 4640, The Demon Realm, was actually here. Yun Chujio asked the black bead tentatively. You're not asking me to find some pearls for you to eat right now, are you? The black bead immediately stopped jumping when it heard that. Its meaning was obvious. Congratulations, you got it right. Hei Shinjo was so angry that she was twitching. Are you stupid? I don't even know where that damn bead is. Where am I going to get it for you? You have to wait until I kill Elder Wan before you can get it. Besides, didn't you swallow several beads in the Myriad Ghosts cave? Why are you so greedy? The black bead emitted an intense emotion again, and it bounced up again. Although Hei Shinjo did not understand what it meant, she knew that it was angry that she did not keep her word. It's not that I don't keep my word, but you have to give me some time. It's not like it's cabbages, how can I get it for you so easily? Hei Shinjo explained. The black bead continued to hop as if it did not hear her. Hei Shinjo was in so much pain that she broke out in cold sweat. Glass ball, if you continue to show off, I will dig out my dantian. I would rather give up my cultivation. As she spoke, Yun Chujio took out a large kitchen knife and was about to cut her abdomen. After Hei Shinjo made such a scene, the Guai Chao and the Grand Illusionary Mirror that were pretending to be dead finally made their move. They pressed down on the black bead and stopped it from jumping around. Just as Hei Shinjo was about to heave a sigh of relief, a dazzling white light appeared in front of her eyes. When the guy regained his sight, he could not believe his eyes. She was actually in that cave in the demon region, and there were quite a number of spirit souls floating around. Yun Chujio immediately touched her own nose, and as expected, she touched a pig's nose. Hei Shinjo was completely dumbfounded. She pinched herself fiercely, and gritted her teeth in pain. Was she not dreaming? She had actually turned into a pig demon and returned to the demon region? She looked down at her hand. There was no storage ring and spirit beast bag. Could it be that it was only her primordial spirit? While Hei Shinjo was in a daze, the black bead's smug expression came from her spiritual perception. It was as if it was saying, if you don't help me with the bead, I will turn you into a pig demon. Hei Shinjo was in a daze for a long time before she finally confirmed a fact. The black bead could bring her primordial spirit into the demon realm at any time. How did it do it? Hei Shinjo suddenly recalled the relationship between the Great Void Mirror and the Great Void Mystic Realm. Could it be that the demon realm was inside the black bead? How was this possible? However, if that was not the case, how could Dog 2 and the Big Brick be brought into the demon realm? Why could the black bead bring them into the demon realm and then bring them out? Hei Shinjo recalled that the black bead had once swallowed the chi of Hundun. If it did not form a universe inside its body, how could it swallow the chi of Hundun? And it kept swallowing those beads. Could those beads have been a part of it in the first place? Hei Xinjia's heart pounded violently. She felt that she had discovered something extraordinary. Lan Luochen had been thinking of ways to get those beads. Could it be that his ultimate goal was for the demon race? Or could it be that they did not know the secret at all and that the black bead was related to other secrets? No matter what, the fact that she had the black bead could not be known by others, especially that Qi Ying. However, why did the black bead fall apart back then? What did this have to do with her? If all the beads were gathered together, what would happen to the black bead? Chapter 46-41 There was a demon region in her dantian. The more Yunchujo thought about it, the more frightened she became. The more she thought about it, the more complicated the matter became. Just as she was thinking about it, the black bead's provocative emotions came from her spiritual sense. Yunchujo realized that after swallowing those beads, the black bead's emotions had also become much richer. So it was just a freeloader, and now it was just a fucking glutton. Alright, hurry up and bring me back. I will think of a way to get you a pearl as soon as possible, said Yunchujo snappily. She had no other choice now. If her primordial spirit had left her body for too long, and her body was unprotected, it would be terrible if she was killed. Seeing that Yunchujo had agreed, the black pearl stopped jumping in joy. Another white light flashed. Hei Shinjo opened her eyes and realized that she was still in her bedroom. It was as if everything that happened before was an illusion. Although Yunchujo was not sure that the demon realm was inside the black bead, she felt that it was not far from the truth. She did not expect that the free meal she thought was actually such an amazing existence. Oh God, oh Earth, there was a demon realm in her dantian? It was simply shocking. The guy calmed himself down and said to the black bead, "Give me 3 days. I will get the bead for you. Please calm down." The black bead probably felt that Yunchujo did not dare to fool it anymore and finally calmed down. Hei Shinjo wiped the cold sweat on her head. The sleepiness had long disappeared. She thought that Di Biming should not have left Towering Sky Continent yet. Therefore, she took out the voice transmission talisman and sobbed, "Idle, I'm going to be bullied to death by the black bead. I'm so miserable." A moment later, the voice transmission talisman began to tremble. Hei Shinjo quickly sent her spiritual sense into it. Di Biming's deep voice came from inside. "How did it bully you?" Hei Shinjo told him everything that had happened and then asked, "Prince, do you think the demon area is inside the black bead?" Di Biming replied quickly, "I had this guess before, but I didn't tell you because I was afraid that you would be too worried. You must keep this secret. Otherwise, kill Qiying to prevent him from spreading the news about the demon area. As for Aog and Chu Mo, I have already told them in private that they will not mention anything about the demon territory to anyone else." Yunchujo immediately pouted when she heard that. The gigolo always liked to do things behind her back. It really made people love and hate him. "I know. As for Qiying, I will stay for a while. I still want to cast a long line to catch a big fish. As for the matter regarding the demon territory, I will get the nightmare beast to brainwash Meng Yanshou and make him forget about the demon territory. Hei Xingjiu said with a sinister smile. That's fine, but you still have to keep an eye on him. The God-Fiend Palace has some secret techniques. Don't let him escape, Di Baiming warned. Soon, the voice transmission talisman began to tremble. Hei Xingjiu probed her divine sense with great expectations. There was only an okay in it. Hei Xingjiu rolled her eyes speechlessly. She found that after the pretty boy returned to his body, he had become cold and aloof again. The holy sun in the demon area was still the cuter one. Hei Xingjiu put away the voice transmission talisman and scanned the spiritual beast bag with her spiritual sense. The silly cuties were eating and drinking while Qiying was curled up in a corner like a bullied wife. It was as miserable as it could be. Chapter 46-42 Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. Damn it. He deserved to be punished for scheming against her and the gigolo. He would have to suffer for a long time in the future. Hei Xingjiu took out the nightmare beast and asked Meng Yanshou, Little fairy, what are your orders? Find some time to weave a dream to erase Qi Ying's memories of the monster race. If it doesn't work, try a few more times. If you succeed, it will be a great achievement for you. Meng Yanshou grinned and said, Little fairy, don't worry. I'll take care of it. But, can you change my shell? Pig, toad, rabbit. Choose one. Meng Yanshou shrunk its neck and quickly said, that, I was just joking. Actually, it's good to be a rabbit. Oh right, you and Qi Ying are both rabbits now. You should keep an eye on him, Yun Chuzhou added. Meng Yanshou hurriedly nodded to show its loyalty. Yun Chuzhou then put it back into the spirit beast bag. Yun Chuzhou lay on the bed and thought about how to get the pearl of the nameless sword sect. She had to find out the whereabouts of the pearl first, then proceed to the next step. This fellow had slept in for a long time. The next day, he only got up around noon. After eating a simple meal, he left the house leisurely. The moment he left the house, he saw the steward of the middle courtyard's miscellaneous affairs hall coming over eagerly. Junior Sister Yun, your courtyard has been repaired. Why don't you go over and take a look? Yun Chuzhou was stunned. It's been repaired so quickly? The steward said fawningly, isn't it because I was afraid that you would be anxious? Junior Sister Yun, why don't you follow me to take a look? Yun Chuzhou nodded. To be honest, she was more used to living in her own courtyard because it was much more convenient to do things in the remote location of her courtyard. Immediately, Yun Chuzhou followed the steward to her own courtyard. How would those handymen dare to offend this ancestor? Naturally, they did their best to repair it. Yun Chuzhou was quite satisfied with it. Only then did the steward leave as if he had been relieved of a heavy burden. Yun Chuzhou swept her gaze across the courtyard. Other things were fine, but there were no swings or slides left. When she had the time, she had to make a new one. Otherwise, those drifters would probably cause a ruckus. It was strange to say that after arriving at Towering Sky Continent, the big brick had become a drifter once again. Other than occasionally entering her glabella, it was no different from before. Yun Chuzhou walked around the courtyard and went to Elder Dongfang's sword forging hall. Elder Dongfang had a very good impression of Hei Xingjiu now. Naturally, he was very happy to see her. The old man and the young man started chatting. Hei Xingjiu intentionally brought up the topic of the ghost market of Tao Tai and asked, Elder Dongfang, what is the origin of the pearl that was lost in the ghost market? Why are so many people fighting for it? Elder Dongfang did not know that the guy had ulterior motives. He lowered his voice and said, no one knows the origin of the bead. It is just a rumor that the bead will bring disaster if it appears in the real world. But I don't think so. After all, the bead of Chao Tian's sect has disappeared for a long time, and there hasn't been any disaster. Elder Dongfang, I thought about it later. 2 pearls appeared and then disappeared. There might be a conspiracy behind this. So, you have to remind my master to keep an eye on the one in our sect. Don't be tricked by others. Especially watch out for that old thing Elder One. Maybe he has already colluded with others. Hei Shinjo blinked and said. Chapter 46-43 was actually here. Elder Dongfang's expression changed. What you said makes sense. We should indeed remind the sect master. However, our sect's forbidden area is much more tightly guarded than Chaotian's sections. There shouldn't be any problems. Hei Shinjo was delighted. It seemed that her guess was correct. The Nameless Sword sect indeed had a pearl. Elder Dongfang, that might not be the case. What if Elder Wan colluded with the other party? Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to enter the forbidden area? Oh right, where is the forbidden area you mentioned? The forbidden area is right. Elder Dongfang looked at Yun Chujo suspiciously. Don't ask too much. I will remind the sect leader. Hei Shinjo was afraid that she would arouse suspicion if she said anything more. She smiled and said, I'm just curious. Forget it. I won't ask any more. I don't want to have any grudges if something goes wrong. Elder Dongfang, didn't I not learn how to infuse sword intent? Why don't you give me some pointers? Elder Dongfang didn't doubt him and immediately instructed Yun Chujo to infuse sword intent. Unfortunately, this fellow didn't succeed no matter how hard he tried. After a while, he found an excuse and ran away. However, he let a wisp of the drifter stay in the Eastern Elder's courtyard. In the evening, the wisp of the drifter flew back to Yun Chujo's courtyard in a smug manner. Yun Chujo was playing on the swing. When she saw the wisp of the drifter return, she knew that she had gained something. She immediately asked, where is the bead hidden in the forbidden area? The Nameless Sword sect had several forbidden areas. If she were to barge into them one by one, it would definitely not work. Therefore, she had to first determine where the bead was hidden in the forbidden area. The streak of drifter immediately gestured for Yun Chujo to follow her. Yun Chujo followed the drifter and made many turns. She did not expect that they would actually arrive near Master Ouyang's courtyard. This fellow's heart immediately turned cold. Could the entrance to the forbidden area be in Old Man Ouyang's courtyard? This was going to be difficult. She could use some means to sneak into other places, but Old Man Ouyang was not easy to fool. Moreover, she did not know the exact location of the entrance to the forbidden area. She was really worried to death. Hei Shinjo sighed and returned to her own courtyard. She discussed with Black Bead, Glass Ball, no, dear little bead, do you think we can discuss? Before Hei Shinjo could finish her sentence, Black Bead started to jump around. Alright, I'll help you get it. Don't bother, Hei Shinjo said in a bad mood. This guy rubbed his chin and thought hard. What should I do? It was really worrying. This guy came to Master Ouyang's place early the next morning to curry favor. In the name of helping Master Ouyang clean up, he rolled his eyes but did not notice anything. This guy used his spiritual sense to discuss with Black Bead, little bead, if you want to eat the bead, you have to help, right? Can you tell me where the entrance to this forbidden area is? Black Bead did not show any reaction as if it was dead. Seeing how diligent Hei Shinjo was, Master Ouyang couldn't help but feel comforted. He said with a smile, alright, that's enough. Come here. I'll see if there's any progress in your swordsmanship. Hearing that, Hei Xinjia's heart moved. Master, you can't blame me for this. You're asking for it. Therefore, this guy said with a smile, Master, if I accidentally hurt you, you can't be angry, and you can't settle the score later. Chapter 46-44 Entrance to the Forbidden Area. Master Ouyang was so angry that he was amused. You little girl, you sure have a big mouth. Come, I want to see how you can hurt me. Yun Chujo did not say much and immediately took out an immortal sword. The current situation was special, so this fellow could not be bothered to hide it. Moreover, Master Ouyang's eyelids were not that shallow. When Master Ouyang saw the immortal sword that Yun Chujiu took out, he was slightly surprised. He thought that it was given to her by Di Biming, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. The master and disciple immediately engaged in a battle. In the beginning, He Xingjiu didn't use the sword technique that she learned from the stone wall. She only used the space-shattering sword technique of a true disciple. From time to time, there were 3 sword intents mixed in, which made Master Ouyang very satisfied. Master Ouyang felt that this little disciple of his had a good understanding of sword techniques. However, it would take a few years before she could defeat him. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly staggered. The sword technique in Yun Chujiu's hand immediately changed. The angle was extremely tricky and strange. Master Ouyang couldn't dodge in time and was stabbed in the left shoulder by the sword. He Xingjiu's face changed drastically. She immediately threw the sword on the ground and said, Master, are you okay? It's all my fault. Quick, I have the hemostasis pill here. Please eat it. Master Ouyang was obviously a little confused. He took the pill from He Xingjiu's hand and swallowed it subconsciously. Then, he fainted. After settling Master Ouyang down, this guy started to run around in the courtyard. He even searched under Master Ouyang's bed, but he didn't find anything. This guy even suspected that the wisp of Drifter was talking nonsense. He waited until the sky was dark, but this guy still didn't find the entrance to the forbidden area. He gritted his teeth and decided to give up. She didn't believe that the Black Pearl could really kill her. At most, she would suffer a little. Just as she was about to feed Master Ouyang the antidote, the Gui Chao in her dantian shook its leaves. Yun Chujiu was shocked and went under the bed again. She squinted her eyes and saw an invisible wisp of white smoke drifting in through the gap of the door. A moment later, Zhuang Hong's voice came from the door, Master, are you asleep? After asking 3 times, the door was pushed open. Zhuang Hong asked another question. Seeing that Master Ouyang didn't have any reaction, he walked to the bed. Zhuang Hong saw that Master Ouyang's eyes had lost consciousness. He snorted and took out a voice transmission talisman to send a message to someone. A moment later, another person walked in. Sir, my master has already passed out. What should we do next? Should we kill him? Zhuang Hong gritted his teeth and asked. Let him live for now. We'll talk about it after I get the things. You stay here and watch him. I'll go get the things. A man's voice said. Yes. Don't worry, Master. The entrance to the forbidden area is under the well in the courtyard. Please be careful. Zhuang Hong said obsequiously. That man agreed and left the room. After that person left, Zhuang Hong looked at Master Ouyang on the bed and sneered, Old man, you have such a day? Back then, when Zhongli was fine, you were biased towards him. It was not easy for me to become your only disciple, and you took that damned slut as your disciple and protected her everywhere. You really deserve to die. As long as Sir finds that bead, you will die. At that time, I will become the new sect master of the Nameless Sword sect. As for that slut, I have 100 ways to kill her. Chapter 46-45, Bottom of the Well. Just as Zhuang Hong was in the middle of his speech, his ankle was yanked by someone and he fell to the ground with a thud. Before he could scream, a large kitchen knife was already pressed against his neck. Shut up, or I'll kill you. You, why are you here? Zhuang Hong widened his eyes in horror. He was too familiar with this voice. It was that bitch Yun Chujiu. He Xingjiu said sinisterly, Come, tell me, what are your 100 methods? Zhuang Hong. Yun Chujiu gently cut Zhuang Hong's neck with a large kitchen knife, and fresh blood oozed out. She asked coldly, Who was that person just now? Zhuang Hong's eyes flickered, and he said viciously, That was someone you couldn't afford to offend. Yun Chujiu, let me go now and forget about the past grudges. Otherwise, you're dead. Yun Shujo laughed lightly and said, I've seen stupid people before, but this is the first time I've met someone as stupid as you. Forget it, I'm too lazy to waste my breath on you. As Yun Shujo said this, she directly knocked Zhuang Hong unconscious. She was afraid that he wouldn't be completely unconscious and even stuffed a pill into his mouth. Only then did she stuff him under the bed. Yun Shujo summoned a part of the drifter from between her brows and released Butt-Face. She said, You stay here and guard. If anyone comes over, feed the antidote to my master. Little fairy, don't worry. Leave this place to me. Butt-Face said confidently. Yun Shujo nodded and handed the antidote to Butt-Face before leaving the house. She was sure that the person came for the black bead. In fact, she had thought of waiting inside the house or at the mouth of the well, but if it was possible to give the person a chance to escape, she decided to go down to the bottom of the well to take a look. She looked around and did not find anything unusual. Just when she was a little worried, the black bead that was pretending to be dead finally reacted. With the reminder of the black bead, Yun Shujo found the location of the enchantment and successfully entered the enchantment. In fact, this so-called forbidden area was just a tunnel dug on the wall of the well. At the end of the tunnel should be the room where the bead was hidden. Of course, there were all kinds of formations set up in the tunnel, such as illusion formation, sword light formation, and poison formation. If she didn't have some skills, it would be useless even if she found the tunnel. However, the person who came in earlier was obviously very proficient in formations. The formations on the tunnel had been completely destroyed by him, so Hei Shinjo passed through the tunnel smoothly. Hei Shinjo walked to the end of the pathway and saw a thick and heavy stone door. The stone door was not tightly closed. Hei Shinjo leaned forward and peeked through the crack of the door. Seeing the situation inside, Hei Shinjo almost laughed out loud. The person from before was facing a transparent barrier, but he was at his wit's end. Inside the barrier, there was a black bead that was flying back and forth proudly. It was obviously demonstrating its power. The man seemed to have sensed something. He turned around and shouted sternly, Who is it? Hei Shinjo did not intend to hide anything. She pushed open the stone door and walked in generously. The man's pupils contracted when he saw Yun Shujo. Yun Shujia's heart skipped a beat. This man was wearing a mask, and he obviously knew her. Could it be that he was an acquaintance? She should trick him first. Thinking of this, Hei Shinjo snorted coldly, Oh, I didn't expect it to be you. You are really good at scheming. However, it's your bad luck to meet me today. Chapter 46. The brick came out again. The man's pupils shrank again. How did you recognize me? Yun Shujo thought to herself, of course it was a lie. However, this guy naturally would not tell the truth. He chuckled and said, A person's eyes can't deceive others. I don't have other abilities, but I can still recognize people. How could the man know that Hei Shinjo was lying to him? His voice immediately changed. Since you've recognized me, there's no need to pretend anymore, because you're destined to be a dead man. When Yun Shujo heard that voice, she was shocked. It was him. Wan Xingba, as Elder Wan's son, is it really good for you to do such a thing? Yun Shujo said disdainfully. Although this guy said so, he was puzzled in his heart. That was not right. Zhuang Hong had clearly called this Wan Xingba sir. Could it be that he did not know that this person was Wan Xingba? Could it be that Wan Xingba had another identity? Then, did Elder Wan know that he came to the forbidden area to take the beads? Could it be that he and Elder Wan were not in cahoots? Wan Xingba did not reply. He pulled out his treasured sword and slashed down at Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo was shocked. She hurriedly jumped to dodge and took out her large kitchen knife to prepare for battle. Although she could not see through Wan Xingba's cultivation level, it was obvious that he was not at the 5th level of Nirvana stage as everyone knew. He was much higher than this. The reason why Hei Shinjo was able to hurt Master Ouyang previously was firstly because of the curse of Xiao Hanyo, secondly because Master Ouyang wasn't on guard against her, and thirdly because of the sword techniques on the stone wall. The longer the night, the more dangerous it would be. If Wan Xingba had an accomplice, or if he and Elder One had already discussed the follow-up actions, it would be bad. She had to think of a way to end the battle quickly. Just as He Xinjiu was about to let the dumb cuties out to help, a large brick jumped out from between her brows and slapped Wan Xingba's head. Even in his dreams, Wan Xingba did not expect that a large brick would jump out from between Yunchujia's brows. Moreover, that large brick was not afraid of the sword intent and sword chi that he released at all. Clang! Wan Xingba was knocked unconscious by the large brick. He Xinjiu. She thought that the big brick would turn into those drifters when they returned to Towering Sky Continent. She did not expect it to appear again. However, she could not think about this now. He Xinjiu lifted the mask on Wan Xingba's face and saw that it was indeed Wan Xingba. This guy was afraid that Wan Xingba would use a trick to escape, so he stuffed a bunch of poison into Wan Xingba's mouth. Only then did he feel relieved. After He Xinjiu finished dealing with Wan Xingba, she looked at the transparent barrier. The bead inside looked like it couldn't wait to rush out, and it kept crashing into the barrier. He Xinjiu was even more sure of her previous guess. These beads must have been part of the black bead. Otherwise, why would it be so crazy to take the initiative to feed it? Glass beads, see? The beads you want are inside. You better think of a way to open the enchantment. Otherwise, when someone comes, you won't be able to eat them. He Xinjiu pointed at the enchantment and said to the black beads in her dantian. The black beads immediately instructed He Xinjiu to find a weak spot in the enchantment. He Xinjiu picked up the large kitchen knife and hacked at it. It was not that this fellow had not thought of using talisman seals to blow it up, but the commotion was too big. It was better to use the large kitchen knife. The large brick did not enter He Xinjiu's glabella. Instead, it watched from the side and kept showing off. It seemed like it was looking down on the large kitchen knife. Chapter 46-47, The Evil Disciple. The large kitchen knife might have felt the disdain of the large brick. The blade flashed with a red light and emitted a terrifying pressure. The enchantment instantly dissipated. He Xinjiu was so shocked by the explosion of the large kitchen knife that she opened her mouth wide. Before she could recover from her shock, the bead flew into her mouth impatiently. He Xinjiu. This guy used his spiritual perception to look inside, and the bead was long gone. It had probably been swallowed by the black bead. The black bead gave off a lazy feeling. It would probably be quiet for a while. He Xinjiu then lowered her head to look at the large kitchen knife in her hand. It looked no different from usual, as if everything that had happened before was just an illusion. Just as He Xinjiu was in a daze, the large brick once again turned into a floaty shape and drilled into He Xinjiu's glabella. He Xinjiu's heart skipped a beat. Someone must have come. She blinked her eyes, took out Chu Fang's voice transmission talisman, and said a few words. Then, she quickly stuffed a handful of antidote into Wan Xingba's mouth. However, when he saw Yun Chujiu slashing at him with a big kitchen knife, he subconsciously picked up the sword next to him and stabbed at He Xinjiu. Yun Chujiu dodged while shouting sternly, "Wan Xingba, as a successor disciple, why did you harm my master and break into the forbidden area? What are your intentions?" How could Wan Xingba know that this guy was digging a hole? He said coldly, "Cut the crap and go to hell." Almost as soon as Wan Xingba finished speaking, a few figures rushed in. The leader was Master Ouyang. As it turned out, as long as there was a strange movement in the underground enchantment, not only Master Ouyang, but also Elder Duanmu and the others would sense it, so they all rushed to Master Ouyang's courtyard. But Fei sensed that someone was coming. He was afraid that his life would be in danger, so he hurriedly fed the antidote to Master Ouyang. The drifters who stayed behind to protect Master Ouyang went into hiding. After Master Ouyang woke up, he was completely dumbfounded. He remembered that he was competing with his little disciple with his sword, and that little girl actually stabbed him. After he took the little girl's pill, he fainted. Just as Master Ouyang was a little dumbfounded, but Face barked at him and dragged Zhuang Hong out from under the bed. Master Ouyang was even more dumbfounded now. At this moment, Elder Duanmu and the others came in. When Master Ouyang learned that someone had broken into the forbidden area, he immediately ignored everything else and hurriedly brought everyone down the well. Master Ouyang and the others naturally heard the conversation just now and glared at Wan Xingba. Wan Xingba knew that he wasn't a match for them and bit his finger to use a secret technique to escape. He Xingjiu clearly knew that he was trying to escape, but she didn't warn Master Ouyang and the others. She only pretended to attack with a large kitchen knife. This guy was very shrewd. As long as Wan Xingba escaped, the crime of stealing the bead could be pinned on his head. Moreover, Elder Wan still wanted to be the sect master with such a stain. Dream on. However, how did Wan Xingba know the secret technique of the Divine Devil Hall? Could it be that he was a member of the Divine Devil Hall? How could Wan Xingba know the twists and turns in He Xingjia's mind? After he finished casting his secret technique, he disappeared. At this moment, He Xingjiu shouted, "Where is he? Damn it, I just remembered that he used the secret technique of the Divine Devil Hall. Oh my god, is he a member of the Divine Devil Hall?" Master Ouyang and the others' attention was on the bead. Oh no, the bead was stolen by Wan Xingba. Master Ouyang's head buzzed as he looked at He Xingjiu, who was shouting happily, "Evil disciple! Why did you knock me out? Are you at that Wan Xingba?" Chapter 46-48. I don't want to live anymore. He Xingjia's eyes widened in disbelief before she revealed a very hurt expression. "Master, you called me an evil disciple? You still said that I'm in cahoots with Wan Xingba? Sob, I risked my life not to protect the sect's treasures, but you said that about me? I don't want to live anymore. I'm too sad, I'm too ashamed to face anyone." As He Xingjiu said this, she picked up the large kitchen knife and was about to commit suicide. Elder Dongfang and the others naturally wouldn't sit idly by. They hurried forward to stop her. He Xingjiu waved the large kitchen knife crazily. "Don't come any closer. If my master doesn't return my innocence today, I won't live no matter what." Elder Dongfang glanced at the dumbfounded Master Ouyang. "Master, you too. This matter hasn't been settled yet. How can you talk about little Jiu like this? No matter how thick-skinned she is, she's still a little girl, right?" "He Xingjiu, Elder Dongfang, do you know that you won't have any friends if you talk like this?" Master Ouyang was so angry that he was twitching. He pointed at his left shoulder and said, "You. If she didn't have evil intentions, why would I faint? Why would she appear here?" Everyone looked at Master Ouyang's left shoulder when they heard that. Although the wound had already healed, there were still traces of blood on his clothes. However, how could Yun Shujiu hurt the sect leader? Yun Shujiu cried and said, "I don't know what happened either. When I fed you the pill, you fainted. I helped you into the house. I wanted to find someone to check on your injuries, but I fainted too." Master Ouyang asked suspiciously, "You fainted too? Then why did you appear here? And why was Zhuang Hong knocked out?" Yun Shujiu pouted and said, "HMPH. I can see that you are more biased towards that ingrate Zhuang Hong." Before Master Ouyang could reply, Yun Shujiu continued, "When I woke up, the sky was already dark. I was about to turn on the lights to see what was going on when I heard movement outside, so I hid under the bed. In the end, I saw Zhuang Hong and a masked man walking in. Zhuang Hong even said that he wanted to kill you. At that time, I had already made up my mind that I would rather die than save you. However, I did not expect that the other person said that taking the bead was more important. He asked Zhuang Hong to stay behind to watch over you and kill you when the bead was in his hands. After that person left, Zhuang Hong cursed and said that you were biased towards Zhongli before and now you are biased towards me. You are a damn old bastard. Master Ouyang almost died from anger when he heard that. He Xinjiu did not care about him and continued, I was too angry for a moment. I grabbed Zhuang Hong's ankle and dragged him down. Then, I knocked him unconscious. I was afraid that they had accomplices, so I didn't use my identity jade token to send the message. I only had senior brother Chu's voice transmission talisman, so I used the voice transmission talisman to inform senior brother Chu to help me deliver the message to Elder Gu. I was afraid that the man would slip away from the well after he succeeded, so I took the risk and followed him down. I felt that he seemed to know me, so I tricked him. I didn't expect that he would believe me and take off his mask. Only then did I know that he was Wan Qingba. You all saw what happened after that. This is what happened. If you don't believe me, you can ask senior brother Chu. I reckon that he and Elder Gu should already be up there. Master Ouyang was still a little suspicious. Even if what you said is true, then why did I faint after taking your pill? Why did you wake up before me? Chapter 46-49, Chu Fang's testimony. He Xinjiu said unhappily, how would I know? Maybe Zhuang Hong, that ingrate, drugged your bedroom before. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fainted too. I'm so miserable. I risked my life to save someone, but I was falsely accused of being Wan Qingba's accomplice. Even if he has accomplices, they should be his father and his nephew. He Xinjiu's words immediately reminded everyone. Only then did they look at Elder Wan, who had been standing there in a daze without saying a word. Elder Wan had obviously suffered a heavy blow and had been standing there in a daze. It was true that he wanted to usurp the position of sect master, but he definitely did not let Wan Qingba come over to steal the bead. He also did not know that his son's spiritual power was actually so high. Although when he entered, he only saw Wan Qingba and Yun Chujiu exchanging a few moves, but with his eyesight, he could naturally see Wan Qingba's true spiritual power. Moreover, just as Yun Chujiu had said, the secret technique that Wan Qingba used in the end to escape was clearly the secret technique of the Divine Devil Hall. How could he be related to the Divine Devil Hall? He Xinjiu looked at Elder Wan, who had suffered a heavy blow, and her heart moved. She recalled that when Elder Wan's eldest son, Wan Pengcheng's father, had died, Wan Qingba had also been present. Most importantly, Wan Pengcheng's father had also been bitten to death by a demonic beast. If this was true, it would be a tragedy in the human world. Although He Xinjiu had a plan in her heart, she had not cleared up her enmity yet. Naturally, she could not cause any more trouble and continued to groan and seek death. Master Ouyang calmed down a little and said coldly, let's go up first. He Xinjiu also knew that she could not cause too much trouble, so she followed behind the crowd in tears. Elder Dongfang and Elder Duanmu supported the dazed Elder Wan on their left and right as they went up together. As soon as the crowd showed their heads, they saw Elder Gu approach them anxiously. Are you all right? What is going on? When the crowd saw Elder Gu and Chu Fang behind him, they immediately believed most of Yun Chujiu's words. After the crowd entered the living room, Master Ouyang asked, Chu Fang, when did you receive Yun Chujiu's message? What did she tell you? Sect Master, Junior Sister Yun sent me the message at the 3rd quarter of the hour. It was just that I was at the critical moment of my breakthrough, so I couldn't check the voice transmission talisman immediately. After I succeeded in my breakthrough, I went to check the voice transmission talisman. Therefore, I delayed the time. Please punish me, Sect Master. Chu Fang's face was full of guilt and self-blame. At this moment, Chu Fang's heart was like a beeping dog. A quarter of an hour ago, he received He Xinjiu's voice transmission talisman. Remember, I will inform you at 5:30 p.m. I want you to inform your master that the sect leader is in trouble. If you tell me that you have been exposed, then don't even think about marrying Little Moon. Chu Fang looked at the time. It was almost midnight. How was he supposed to round it off? Chu Fang thought about it and was so anxious that he was about to hit the wall. He suddenly remembered that he had just broken through in the afternoon, and no one else knew about this news. That was why he had this excuse. Elder Gu proved at the side, sect leader, Chu Fang's original spiritual power was at the third layer of the quietness of the spirit. Now he is already at the fourth layer of the quietness of the spirit. Moreover, his condition is unstable. Obviously, he has just broken through not long ago, so he should not be lying. Chapter 4650, Evidence. Master Ouyang had a good impression of Chu Fang. He had always thought that Chu Fang was an honest child, so he still believed in what he said. In addition, with Elder Gus' testimony, he was even more convinced. How could he have known that Chu Fang was no longer honest? He had been completely led by He Xinjiu to become a drama queen. Zhuang Hong looked wronged. Master, this has nothing to do with me. It was Yun Chujiu who framed me. I have no idea what is going on. He Xinjiu wiped her tears and said, Master hasn't said anything yet, and you are accusing me of framing you. Aren't you being dishonest? Master, since he's drugged, there must still be some powder left on him. You can just search his storage ring. Zhuang Hong wasn't willing to let anyone search his storage ring. There was still that kind of incense in his storage ring. If he was found, the evidence would be irrefutable. However, it was useless even if he didn't want to. Master Ouyang had someone take off the storage ring on his hand. Ignoring his pleas, he wiped away the spiritual imprint on it. Zhuang Hong let out a miserable cry. It was obvious that his spiritual imprint had been damaged. Master Ouyang did not even look at him. He used his spiritual imprint to scan the storage ring. Very quickly, he found incense and some medicinal pills. There was even a jade plate with a picture of the resurrection lily engraved on it. Master Ouyang closed his eyes and only opened them after a long while. Then, he threw those things in front of Zhuang Hong and said in a somewhat hoarse voice, What are these? Are these the things that little Nine framed you? He Xinjiu curled her lips secretly. She called her little Nine now? Didn't she call her an evil disciple before? Tui. Zhuang Hong saw that the matter had been exposed. He kneeled a few steps and said with snot and tears, Master, I was wrong. I was bewitched by that person and did something wrong in a moment of stupidity. Please spare me. A moment of stupidity? Don't you know that the Divine Devil Hall is everyone's public enemy? You drugged me and even tried to kill me in a moment of stupidity? Were you also in a moment of stupidity when you joined forces with others to steal the sect's precious treasures? Zhuang Hong, ever since Zhang Li's accident, I had high hopes for you. But what did you do? Master Ouyang said dejectedly. He wished he could slap Zhuang Hong to death, but after thinking about how he had to tell the truth about some things, he softened his tone and said, Sigh, for the sake of master and disciple, if you tell the truth, I will give you a lighter sentence. Tell me, how did you collude with Wan Qingba? And what are your plans? Zhuang Hong was stunned. Wan Qingba? Master Ouyang took a deep breath. Don't tell me you don't know that the person who sneaked in with you is Wan Qingba? Zhuang Hong widened his eyes in disbelief. No, that's impossible. How could Master be Wan Qingba? All right, don't worry about who he is, just tell me what you know. Master Ouyang had mixed feelings in his heart. Little Nine had only met him once and she had already revealed the identity of that person. This idiot was so good that he didn't even know that the person who had been in contact with him was Wan Qingba. In order to survive, Zhuang Hong had no choice but to tell the whole story. Actually, the matter was not complicated. When Zhuang Hong saw that Master Ouyang was becoming colder and colder towards him, he had other thoughts, so he was very close to Elder Wan. However, although Elder Wan was very polite to him, he did not completely trust him. Coincidentally, at this time, the person wearing the mask appeared. Chapter 4651 was a good deed. That person directly stated that he was a member of the Divine Devil Hall. He promised Zhuang Hong that as long as he could help him get the pearl, he would help Zhuang Hong get the position of the sect leader. Not only that, he also promised him a bunch of benefits. For example, when the Divine Devil Hall occupied the sky-high continent in the future, it would allow his influence to expand even further. Zhuang Hong was still a little hesitant at first, but Yun Chujia's return made him make up his mind. That was why he would cooperate with Wan Qingba. After Zhuang Hong finished speaking, he cried out bitterly, "Master, I was blinded by lard for a moment. Please spare me. I will definitely change my past and never dare to do it again." He Xinjiu was shocked. Oh no, she had forgotten about this. If Zhuang Hong did not admit it, wouldn't old man Ouyang suspect her? What should she do? Just as this fellow was trembling in fear, Elder Wan, who had been in a daze, suddenly rushed over and grabbed Zhuang Hong's neck. "You're spouting nonsense. Qingba can't be from the Divine Devil Hall. It must be your slander. I'll strangle you to death." Zhuang Hong did not expect Elder Wan to suddenly go crazy. He rolled his eyes. Elder Dongfang and the rest hurried to pull Elder Wan away. By the time they pulled him away, Zhuang Hong was already dead. He Xinjiu had never seen Elder Wan so pleasing to the eye. Io, this old thing had done a good deed. However, did this old thing just happen to go crazy, or was there something else going on? Could it be that this old man had done something to old man Ouyang's food or bedroom? He Xinjiu felt that the latter possibility was more likely. TSK, old man Ouyang really had to thank her properly. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Master Ouyang slammed the table. "Elder Wan, what do you mean? Why did you kill Zhuang Hong? Are you trying to silence him?" Elder Wan did not reply. He just kept muttering, "Impossible. It's all fake. Qingba can't be someone from the Divine Devil Hall, it's impossible." Yun Chujiu curled her lips. Elder Wan was muddle-headed before and there was an 80% chance that it was true. Now, he was obviously acting. However, seeing that he had helped her a great deal earlier, she did not expose him. Elder Ma, who was usually on good terms with Elder Wan, took out a calming pill and fed it to Elder Wan. Only then did Elder Wan seem to have regained his consciousness and said dejectedly, "Sect Master, my family had the misfortune of having an unfilial son. I have failed to teach him well and am willing to accept the punishment of the sect." "Elder Wan, let's not talk about Wan Qingba first. Why did you strangle Zhuang Hong just now?" Master Ouyang asked coldly. He laughed coldly in his heart. This Elder Wan was still scheming at this point. How could he get away with it just because he didn't teach him well? Elder Wan looked at Zhuang Hong's corpse blankly. He was killed by me. Why should I kill him?" Master Ouyang saw the situation and knew that he was planning to act shamelessly. However, he naturally wouldn't let him off so easily. "Elder Wan, no matter what, Wan Qingba is your son. You can't escape the blame. In order to prove your innocence, hand over your storage ring to this seat to check." Elder Wan gritted his teeth and had no choice but to take off his storage ring and take the initiative to remove the spiritual imprint on it. After Master Ouyang sent his spiritual imprint in, he saw that not only were there huge amounts of spirit stones, but there were also many good things inside. He secretly hated this old thing for plundering so many things. Chapter 46-52. The collapsed Elder Wan. However, Master Ouyang swept his gaze a few times and did not find anything suspicious. He snorted coldly and returned the storage ring to Elder Wan. "Elder Wan, although there is nothing wrong with the contents of your storage ring, in order to prove your innocence, I can only temporarily keep you here and then send people to search your residence. Someone, bring Wan Pengcheng here immediately and search their residence." Elder Wan did not resist because the matter was of great importance. Even his henchmen would not speak up for him publicly at this time. Soon, Wan Pengcheng, who was dumbfounded, was brought over. Wan Pengcheng saw Elder Wan's dejected face and Zhuang Hong's corpse on the ground. He was very panicked. "Grandfather, what? What's going on?" What happened? Elder Wan patted him on the shoulder and did not say anything. He Xinjiu remembered the incident with Wan Pengcheng's father. She smiled and said, "Senior brother Wan, you still don't know, right? Your uncle, Wan Xingba, is a member of the Divine Devil Hall. He stole our sect's most precious treasure." Wan Pengcheng retorted subconsciously, "You're talking nonsense. Impossible. How could my uncle be a member of the Divine Devil Hall?" Yun Shujiu shrugged her shoulders. "If you don't believe me, ask Elder Wan. Otherwise, why do you think I brought you here?" Wan Pengcheng looked at Elder Wan. "Grandfather, is what she said true?" Elder Wan let out a long sigh and remained silent. When Wan Pengcheng saw the situation, he immediately understood that what Yun Shujiu said was true and he almost fainted. This news was like a bolt from the blue. He had originally been dreaming that Elder Wan would soon become the sect master, but who would have thought that such a thing would happen now? His uncle was actually from the Divine Devil Hall? And he stole the sect's most precious treasure? Yun Shujiu said again, "I told you that Wan Xingba wasn't a good person. Back then, senior uncle Zhongli, no, senior brother Zhongli might have been framed by him. The Divine Devil Hall has many strange medicinal powders. The medicinal powders that make demon beasts angry must have been obtained by Wan Xingba from the Divine Devil Hall. I wonder if there are still people in our sect who have been bitten to death by demon beasts. Maybe it's all done by Wan Xingba." As soon as Yun Shujiu finished speaking, Elder Wan staggered and then collapsed on the ground. His eyes were lifeless, and his entire body could not help but tremble. He muttered, "No, impossible, this is impossible." Wan Pengcheng was shocked. Grandfather, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me." Everyone present looked at each other. What was going on? Weren't they all awake earlier? Why did they become demonic again? Elder Dongfang suddenly slapped his thigh. "Oh my God. This can't be right." Do you guys still remember how Elder Wan's eldest son, Wan Qingfeng, died? Elder Gu frowned. Wasn't Wan Qingfeng killed by a demonic beast when he went out for training? I heard that there wasn't even a corpse left. Why did you suddenly think of asking this? Elder Dongfang shook his head. If I remember correctly, there were a total of 4 people when he went out on the mission. Other than Wan Qingfeng and the other 2 inner sect disciples, there was also Wan Xingba. In the end, only Wan Xingba returned safely. Coincidentally, it was the demonic beast that went crazy again. Could it be that this was also designed by Wan Xingba? Chapter 4653 was even worse than me. When everyone heard Elder Dongfang's words, they couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Heavens, it's really possible that you said that. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that every time, the demonic beasts would go crazy, and only Wan Xingba would come back? Speaking of which, Wan Qingfeng's aptitude is stronger than Wan Xingba's, and he's even more highly regarded by Elder Wan. Could it be that Wan Qingfeng was jealous of his brother's aptitude, so he harmed his brother? TSK, it's not that my words are unpleasant, but when Wan Qingfeng was still around, Wan Pengcheng's personality wasn't as perverse as it is now. But ever since Wan Qingfeng died, Wan Xingba has been indulging him. Perhaps he intentionally wanted to raise him to be crippled. Wan Pengcheng looked at Elder Wan, who was already in a daze. When he heard the discussions of the crowd, his eyelids rolled and he immediately fainted. Everyone fed him pills and called out to him. Wan Pengcheng woke up and Elder Wan also regained his consciousness. However, he had aged a lot in an instant. He knew more details than the others. Therefore, when Yun Shujiu said those words, he had already thought of this point. No matter how scheming he was, he could not withstand such a huge blow. It was not just Wan Qingfeng's matter. Although Elder Wan was interested in the position of sect leader, he had not reached the point where he had to replace it. However, in the past few years, Wan Xingba had been fanning the flames. He had only begun to expand his power rapidly. He had even tampered with Master Ouyang's residence. He did not expect that the reason why Wan Qingba urged him so much was to make it easier for him to steal the bead. How was he raising a son? He was clearly an ingrate. Elder Wan stood up and did not say anything. He staggered away and did not even bother with Wan Pengcheng. When Wan Pengcheng saw Elder Wan, he quickly chased after him. Everyone sighed. No one could withstand such a blow. Elder Wan was afraid that he would not be able to recover from it. As everyone shook their heads and sighed, they heard Yun Chuzhou sobbing, "Elder Wan is so miserable. Woo woo, he is even more miserable than me. I was only scolded by my own master as an evil disciple, but I was wronged as Wan Qingba's accomplice. It doesn't seem to be a big deal, but why is my heart about to break? Woo woo woo." The corner of Master Ouyang's eyes twitched. Naturally, he understood that He Xinjia's words were meant for him to hear. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, "Little Jiu, your master has wronged you. You've made a great contribution this time. Your master will reward you properly." He Xinjiu wiped her tears with her hand while sobbing, "Master, what are you saying? I'm protecting you, protecting the sect's treasures. Is it for the reward?" When Sect Master Ouyang and the others heard this, they exclaimed, "Io, why is this little girl suddenly so enlightened? She wasn't greedy for money anymore." However, they heard He Xinjiu continue, "However, since you insist on giving it to me, I'll take it well, Master, you don't have to give me more. Just give me 10 or 8 immortal artifacts." They thought too much. This girl was still the same person. On one hand, they had to quickly inform the other sections. Firstly, they had to help capture Wan Qingba. Secondly, they had to be on guard so that their pearls would not be stolen by the Divine Devil Hall. On the other hand, they had to investigate the sect disciples so that there were no more accomplices of Wan Qingba in the sect. Chapter 46-54, One Arrow. Several carvings after the discussion, they left one after another, leaving only Master Ouyang and Yun Chuzhou. He Xinjiu knelt on the ground with a thud. "Master, I was wrong." Master Ouyang was startled and almost jumped up from his chair. The first thought that flashed through his mind was, what kind of evil scheme is this little girl playing? Master Ouyang calmed himself down and said, What did you do wrong?" "Master, I shouldn't have taken the risk to enter the well. I should have stayed in the house to protect you. On one hand, I wanted to prevent that person from stealing the bead. On the other hand, I was very curious about the bead and wanted to take a look at it." This fellow was very shrewd. Although her lie was considered perfect, it was inevitable that Master Ouyang would become suspicious in the future. Moreover, she had previously asked Elder Dongfang about the situation of the bead. It would not be good if Master Ouyang found out about it one day. Since that was the case, she might as well admit that she was curious about the bead. This way, she could prevent future trouble. Master Ouyang nodded when he heard that. He knew that Yun Chuzhou was a temperamental person, and she was greedy for money. It was normal for her to be curious about the bead. Moreover, the situation was urgent at that time. She was still young, so it was normal for her to be careless for a moment. Moreover, didn't she leave a dog to protect him? Forget it, you were also protecting the sect's precious treasure. Moreover, you also informed Chu Feng at that time. It was just a coincidence that he broke through and delayed the time. I don't blame you, get up. He Xinjiu finally broke into a smile. I knew that you doted on me the most. Master, I'm your only precious disciple now. If you have anything good in the future, you must think of your precious disciple. Master Ouyang was so angry that he was amused. The last bit of doubt in his heart vanished into thin air. The master and disciple chatted for a while more. He Xinjiu slapped her thigh. Master, I almost forgot something. Elder Wan couldn't wait to strangle Zhuang Hong to death. Maybe he did something to your food or your house. Please ask someone who is proficient in medicine to take a look at you. Master Ouyang was shocked. He felt that what Yun Chuzhou said made sense. He quickly dismissed He Xinjiu and looked for the elders in the sect who were proficient in medicine to treat her. He Xinjiu strolled back to her courtyard and laughed out loud under her blanket. Ha ha ha. Perfect. This guy took a nap. After waking up, he felt refreshed. It was simply beautiful. This time, it could be said that he had killed several birds with one stone. The first harvest was naturally getting the bead, the second harvest was getting rid of Zhuang Hong, and the third harvest was defeating Elder Wan. The last two were completely unexpected joys. Once Zhuang Hong died, she would become the one and only disciple of the sect master. In the future, she would be able to do whatever she wanted in the sect. Elder Wan had suffered a great change. Master Ouyang would definitely take the opportunity to dismantle his power. Even if he were to recover in the future, he would not be able to achieve anything. The more He Xinjiu thought about it, the more beautiful she became. She crossed her legs and hummed a little tune as she basked in the sun. Just as she was enjoying herself, someone knocked on the door. Chu Fang's anxious voice was heard from outside. Junior Sister Yun, Junior Sister Yun, Junior Sister Yun. He Xinjiu opened the door impatiently. Senior Brother Chu, are you calling for Hun? Chu Fang cried, Junior Sister Yun, it's bad. Little Moon is getting engaged. Chapter 46-55. She was not as evil as Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes. If you want to get engaged, you haven't gotten engaged yet. Besides, it's not like you're getting married. Why are you so anxious? Chu Fang. Chu Fang followed Yun Chuzhou into the courtyard like a bullied wife. He said anxiously, Junior Sister Yun, don't joke around. I'm dying of anxiety. I took a risk to help you previously. You can't just ignore me. Yun Chuzhou glared at him fiercely. What did you help me with? Are you stupid? If you mention this matter again in the future, I'll kill you to silence you. Chu Fang was so frightened that he shrunk his neck. How did he realize that junior sister Little Jiao had become even more ferocious after coming back this time? No, junior sister Yun, I am talking nonsense. As long as you help me this time, senior brother's life will be yours in the future. Yun Chuzhou glanced at him. I didn't say that I wouldn't help. Oh right, how did you know that Little Moon was going to get engaged? Little Moon must be having a hard time now. She isn't like you who has a stomach full of evil thoughts. She only knows how to fight with Island Master Qi. She must have been locked up by Island Master Qi. Chu Fang sighed. Yun Chuzhou, who said that she had a bellyful of bad ideas. She was obviously a good girl with a good heart. She didn't know what bad ideas were at all. However, He Xinjiu saw that Chu Fang was in a daze, so she didn't argue with him. She comforted him, Senior Brother Chu, don't worry. This matter isn't necessarily a bad thing. Chu Fang was about to cry. This was not a bad thing. It was simply a bolt from the blue for him, okay? Senior Brother Chu, as the saying goes, a blessing in disguise. Let's think of a way to turn this engagement banquet into your and Little Moon's engagement banquet. Do you think this is a good thing? Chu Fang's face was confused. What the hell? Turn it into his and Little Moon's engagement banquet? Junior Sister Yun was talking in her sleep because she lacked sleep last night, right? Junior Sister Yun, don't tease me. As long as you can cancel this engagement party, I will be so grateful, Chu Fang said with a wry smile. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. So, you don't want to be engaged to Little Moon? Chu Fang sighed. Of course I do. But you know that Island Master Qi doesn't like me. He wants Little Moon to marry a disciple of the Flying Flower Island. How could he agree to let me be engaged to Little Moon? He Xinjiu picked up a spiritual fruit and took a few bites. Then she said, isn't that easy? When the time comes, we'll have to beat the disciple who wants to get engaged unconscious. Why don't you go up instead? The corner of Chu Fang's mouth twitched. Are you kidding me? If he really dared to do that, Island Master Chi would kill him, not to mention getting him and Little Moon engaged. Senior Brother Chu, do you dare to believe me? If you dare, I promise to turn this engagement party into an engagement party between you and Little Moon, A Shinjo said while blinking her eyes. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou didn't look like she was joking, Chu Fang immediately asked excitedly, Junior Sister Yun, are you telling the truth? If it's true, I, of course, believe you. What do you want to do? It's good that you believe me. I haven't thought about what to do. But first, you have to think of a way to get your master to bring you to the engagement party. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes and said. Chapter 4656 was a compliment. Chu Fang said with some difficulty, well, my master doesn't agree with me and Little Moon, so he definitely won't take me there. Yun Chuzhou spread out her hands. Then I don't care. Anyway, I have already pointed out a bright path for you. If you don't leave, you can't blame me. Chu Fang thought hard for a while and said, or I will kneel down to my master. If he doesn't agree, he won't get up. Yun Chuzhou, you came up with such a bad idea after thinking for a long time? Hei Shinjo saw Chu Fang sweating in anxiety and sighed, alright, I'll give you some advice. Just tell Elder Gu that Little Moon is your inner demon. If you see her getting engaged with your own eyes, you'll have completely given up on her. Otherwise, you'll definitely go crazy in the future. Elder Gu will definitely agree with what you said. Chu Fang looked at Hei Shinjo with admiration and said excitedly, Junior Sister Yun, you are really amazing. You have a bad idea with just a blink of an eye. I'm going to find my master first. Hei Shinjo looked at him speechlessly. Senior Brother Chu, do you know that you won't have any friends if you talk like this? I really don't understand why Little Moon has taken a fancy to you. Chu Fang chuckled. Junior Sister Yun, aren't we treating each other like strangers? Moreover, I sincerely admire you. I say that you are a bad person and have bad ideas. These are all positive words. Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes. It turned out that Chu Fang and Buttface were bosom friends. Chu Fang said a few more words and then hurried to find Elder Chu. Yun Chuzhou shook her head. She picked up the fruit and had just taken a few bites when she heard Buttface say, Little fairy, Little Shadow has woken up. He is clamoring to see you. Yun Chuzhou felt that it was about time. If she still did not go along with him, Chi-Ying would probably go crazy, so she let out the red shadow rabbit. Chi-Ying had been living a life worse than death for the past 2 days. Although Chi-Ying was not a world-shaking figure, he should not have been reduced to a smelly girl's spiritual pet, right? He was a human. A human, all right? Yun Chuzhou, what did you do to me? Why did I become your spiritual pet? Chi-Ying gritted his teeth and asked. Yun Chuzhou spread her hands. Little Shadow, you have wronged me. I didn't do anything. Besides, you are not my spiritual pet. Why don't we establish a contract now? Don't even think about it. Chi-Ying immediately jumped several feet away. Perhaps he was too afraid, but he actually jumped on 4 legs at the same time. Seeing Chi-Ying's funny look, Yun Chuzhou laughed so hard that she fell back and forth. Little Shadow, congratulations. You've finally learned how to jump on 4 legs. Hei Shinjo finally managed to hold back her laughter and said seriously, Little Shadow, you've really misunderstood me. I didn't mean to not find a human body for you. The main thing is that the sect is now strictly investigating the people of the Divine Devil Hall. If you possess another disciple, it's inevitable that you'll be discovered. Don't worry. When the wind blows over, it'll definitely find a good body for you and let you become a human again. Chi-Ying looked at Yun Chuzhou suspiciously. Is what you said true? Of course it's true. It's more true than a pearl. We are in a cooperative relationship. If you continue to be a rabbit, won't I suffer a great loss? Yun Chuzhou said matter-of-factly. Although Qiying didn't really believe Yun Chuzhou's words, he didn't dare to be too forceful because he had been beaten up badly by Butt-Face and the others in the past 2 days. Chapter 46-57, The news from Qiying. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes. Little Shadow, do you prefer to stay outside or play with my spiritual pets? Qiying was so angry that he was twitching. Play. He would be beaten up one-sidedly, all right? If he had known that he would be so miserable in the hands of this wretched girl, he would have chosen to die at that time. As for why Qiying did not seek death now, the reason he gave himself was that he had already suffered so much. He had to think of a way to obtain some useful information so that his suffering would not be in vain. Qiying resisted the urge to slap Yun Chuzhou to death with his claws and said, "I'd better stay outside. However, I think it's better to keep you in the spirit beast bag." Why do you think our thoughts are exactly the opposite? He Xinjiu said with a smile. Qiying almost fainted from anger. This stinky girl must have done it on purpose. Little Shadow, how about this? If you can provide me with information about the Divine Devil Hall, I'll leave you outside. Otherwise, I'll keep you in the spirit beast pouch. After all, Butt-Face and the others like you very much, Yun Chuzhou said sinisterly. Qiying couldn't believe his ears. This stinky girl was too mean. She was blatantly threatening him. Shameless. Qiying's rabbit-like body trembled when he thought of the gang fight in the spirit beast pouch. He thought to himself that he could use this opportunity to sow discord between her and Di Biming. Hence, he said, "All right, then I'll tell you a piece of news. Our master is very resourceful. There are people from our Divine Devil Hall on every continent. If you know what's good for you, you can cooperate with me. We can kill Di Biming together, and it will be a great achievement." Before Qiying could finish his words, he was sent flying by He Xinjiu's kick. He fell to the ground with a thud and almost broke 2 of his teeth. Little Shadow, is this a piece of news? I think you really want to return to the spirit beast bag. As Yun Chuzhou was about to put Qiying into the spirit beast pouch, Qiying said with difficulty, wait, let me tell you something else. I heard that our master has specially groomed a woman to suppress Di Biming. She said that she had some entanglement with Di Biming in her previous life. I heard that they were even a pair of lovers. It's just that she hasn't recovered her memory yet. After Qiying finished speaking, his pair of red eyes stole a glance at Yun Chuzhou. He thought that Yun Chuzhou would definitely be shocked when she heard this news. She would go crazy from jealousy and even develop hatred because of love. However, he was disappointed. Yun Chuzhou still had a casual smile on her face as she looked at him with a smile. Are you done? I got it. Yun Chuzhou said lightly. Qiying was dumbfounded. That was it? What did she mean by that? He asked unwillingly, aren't you angry? Don't you want to know about the entanglement between that woman and Di Biming? Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. Little Shadow, do you know that when you lie, your rabbit ears will stand up? Qiying subconsciously lowered his long ears. At the same time, he also knew that he had been tricked. Damn it, this stupid girl was too smart. It was simply impossible to guard against her. Qiying said exasperatedly, HMPH. What I said is not all lies. You will know when the time comes. There will be tears for you. When Di Biming meets his old lover, he will definitely abandon you. Otherwise, why wouldn't he always accompany you? He's simply toying with you. Chapter 46-58 One-Eared Rabbit. After hearing Qiying's words, Yun Chuzhou did not get angry. Instead, she started to laugh. Qiying was laughing until his hair stood on end. What are you laughing at? Yun Shujo stopped laughing and said, "Little shadow, I am laughing at how pitiful you are. You don't know what feelings are, or rather, you don't have any feelings at all. You kept saying that you liked Chu Mo, but in the end, you still chose to follow me to Towering Sky Continent. It shows that your feelings for her are so fragile that they're not even as weak as tofu." Chi Ying saw that Yun Shujo mentioned Chu Mo, and his rabbit-like eyes immediately turned red. "You're spouting nonsense. This is because Chu Mo rejected me. I don't want to not be able to be friends, so I followed you here." Yun Shujo pouted. "TSK. What a nice way of saying it. Why did AOG stay? Stop quibbling. You only have your lord in your heart. I seriously suspect that the person you really like is your shitty lord." Chi Ying was so angry that he almost fainted. He pointed at Yun Shujo with his trembling front claws and said, You're shameless. How could a lady like you say such things? You're shameless." Yun Shujo shrugged her shoulders indifferently. "Face is worthless to me. So, in the future, you better be smart, or I will change you into a female rabbit's body." Chi Ying kicked his leg and fainted. Yun Shujo curled her lips. "You fainted just like that? Your mental endurance is too weak." After Yun Shujo said that, she took out a basin of ice water from her storage ring and splashed it on Chi Ying. Chi Ying was jolted awake by the ice. Chi Ying only had one thought at the moment. He wanted to die. For the first time, he felt that it was too difficult to live. Just as he was about to self-destruct, he heard Hei Shinjo say faintly, "Don't think that everything will be over with just your death. If you die, I will tell the people of the Divine Devil Hall what you told me. That dog shit owner of yours likes men and has a bunch of male pets by his side. Among them, you are one of them." Chi Ying was so angry that he was beyond angry. He pounced on Yun Shujo, intending to perish together with her. Unfortunately, the rabbit that he possessed was no match for Hei Shinjo. Not to mention killing Hei Shinjo, he was sent flying without even touching his clothes. Chi Ying was so humiliated that he turned into anger. He roared, "Yun Shujo, I get it. You tortured me like this because I hit your sore spot. You were afraid that debeiming would change his heart. You said that you didn't care, but in fact, you already believed it. You poured your heart and soul out for debeiming, but in the future, he will abandon you for that old lover. You are simply a pitiful worm." Yun Shujo walked to his side, took out a large kitchen knife, and cut off one of his rabbit ears. Then, she said with a smile, "Little shadow, you may have made a mistake. Whether the gigolo and I were enemies in his previous life or he had other little lovers, those are all matters of his previous life. It has nothing to do with me. Also, I'll make a bet with you. Even if he had someone he liked in his previous life, that person would definitely be my previous life. That's because he would never fall in love with another woman other than me. So, don't embarrass yourself in front of me with that clumsy trick of yours in the future." The freshly cooked one-eared rabbit's face was filled with shock and defeat. Did this wretched girl really believe that debeiming? Chapter 46-59 Earning some betrothal gifts. Chi Ying was stunned for a moment, then he snorted coldly, "Don't be so full of yourself. People change. Debeiming likes you in this life, but it doesn't mean that he likes you in his previous life." Yun Shujo threw him a bottle of pills to stop the bleeding, and said with a chuckle, "I can't help it. I believe in him as if I believe in myself, so don't play tricks in front of me. I remember you once said that if the ghost ancestor hadn't met with an accident, the Lord wouldn't have reincarnated. From this, it can be seen that he and I were definitely a pair of lovers in our previous life." Xingzun said, "What do you know? Back then, you too." Chi Ying stopped talking and only snorted coldly. Yun Shujo didn't ask further. Instead, she said, "I still have to thank you for telling me that your dog shit owner has a woman by his side. Actually, even if you didn't tell me, I would know. Isn't it that Su Yenran? Speaking of which, that little bitch hasn't shown her face for a long time. I really miss her a little. Qi Ying did not utter a word. He cursed inwardly. Pervert. You are a pervert. Yun Shujiu did not continue to teach Qi Ying a lesson. Instead, she sat on the chair and hummed a little tune as she pondered over the matter between Chu Feng and Xiao Yu. Island Master Qi, that stubborn old fogey, was indeed a little difficult to deal with. He had to think of a way to win by surprise. Qi Ying was secretly delighted when he saw Yun Shujiu's troubled look. He had thought that Yun Shujiu really did not care as she had said, but it turned out to be a lie. As long as he continued to work hard in the future, he would definitely be able to drive a wedge between her and Di Biming. When that time came, he would have made a great contribution. As for what love was, HMPH. He did not care. After a while, Chu Feng ran back excitedly. Junior Sister Yun, Master has agreed to bring me to the Flying Flower Island. Have you gone to talk to the sect leader? Yun Shujiu looked at him as if she was looking at an idiot. Senior brother Chu, I am now my master's only precious disciple. Can he not bring me along? There are still about 10 days before the departure. Don't be idle. Let's do some small business and earn some betrothal gifts for you. You can't go to propose marriage empty-handed, right? Junior Sister Yun, it's so short and you can't earn much money. I think it's better to forget it. I still have some savings, Chu Feng said. Forget it. Island Master Qi is even more greedy than me. How can he take a fancy to your little money? Don't worry. As long as you do as I say, I guarantee that you will earn a lot of money. Hei Xingjiu felt that her heart was broken. Why did she feel like an old mother helping her foolish son to marry a wife? Chu Feng thought of Island Master Qi and could not help but frown. All right, Junior Sister Yun, I'll listen to you. What kind of business do you want me to do? Let's hold an auction in the sect. The auction item is to have a meal with me. Hei Xingjiu said with a smile. Chu Feng, Junior Sister Yun, wake up. The sun has already risen so high, are you still dreaming? Chu Feng had the intention to refuse, but when he thought of Xiao Yu and Yun Shujiu's previous glorious deeds, he forced himself to agree. The next day, the Nameless Sword sect exploded. Senior Brotherly, have you heard about that matter? Of course I've heard about it. Even the odd job workers in the kitchen know about it now. How could I not know? Who would spend at least 100,000 high-grade spirit stones in exchange for a chance to have a meal with that Yun Shujiu? That Yun Shujiu and Chu Feng are most likely crazy from poverty. Chapter 4660. Profiteering merchant Chu Feng received a lot of ridicule and rolled his eyes. He came to see Yun Shujiu dejectedly. Junior Sister Yun, I told you that this move of yours wouldn't work. Now, both of us have become the laughingstock of the Nameless Sword sect. Yun Shujiu took out a pen and paper and said to him, I said write it, come. Chu Feng didn't understand what she meant, but he still started writing according to Yun Shujiu's instructions. Auction notice for the Little Nine banquet. Do you want to know how a genius of a generation was trained? Do you want to know the secret to breaking through the 10th level in one night? Do you want to know how to jump from a handyman to a successor disciple of the sect leader? All the answers would be revealed at the Little Nine banquet one by one. As hosting the banquet was too exhausting, only 50 people were allowed to attend this time. The highest bidder would get it. It was a once-in-lifetime opportunity. If you didn't come, it would be your loss for the rest of your life. If you didn't come, it would be a regret that you would never be able to make up for. After Chu Feng finished writing, he was dumbfounded. This Junior Sister Yun was too good at deceiving people. Chu Feng thought that the more money he earned, the more he would be able to move Island Master Qi, so he said, Junior Sister Yun, isn't 50 people too little? Why don't we write 100 people? Wrong. The fewer people there are, the more precious the qualifications are. Only then will they spare no effort to raise the price. Yun Chujio said sinisterly. Junior sister Yun, what are you going to say at little Joe's banquet? You'll know when the time comes, Yun Chujio said mysteriously. Chu Feng shook his head and went to paste the notice. Seeing the notice this time, some people were a little tempted. Not to mention other things, that Yun Chujio had broken through 10 layers in one night. If they could learn the secret of this, it would be worth it no matter how many spirit stones they spent. Seeing that everyone's reaction was better than before, Chu Feng was slightly relieved. However, would there really be an auction at that time? Soon, it was the day of the auction. The scene could be described as a sea of people. Almost 90% of the nameless sword sect's disciples had arrived. Chu Feng braced himself and went up to the high platform and said, "The first round of the Little Nine Banquet's qualification auction will now begin. The first person to attend the banquet will now begin the auction. The starting price is 100,000 high-grade spirit stones." After Chu Feng finished speaking, the people below were discussing animatedly, but none of them were bidding. Chu Feng couldn't help but secretly groan bitterly. He had said that this method wouldn't work, so how could he end things now? I bid 150,000. Junior sister Yun has mastered 3 types of sword intent. If I'm lucky enough to gain enlightenment of sword intent, let alone 150,000, even 5 million would be worth it. 180,000. I must get it today. No matter what, I must get this opportunity. As soon as someone took the lead, others immediately began to raise their bids. The bidding price also began to soar rapidly to 1 million. Chu Feng was dumbfounded. Oh God, are these people crazy? When the price soared to 1.5 million, no one raised their bids anymore. They thought that since there were still 49 spots left, at worst, they could just bid for the next round. Thus, Chu Feng landed the gavel. The first person to attend the banquet has been selected. Congratulations, senior brother. Now, the second person to attend the banquet will begin the bidding. Chu Feng originally thought that the bidding price would be lower as time went on. Who would have thought that the atmosphere would be heated up? The people were already hot-blooded. They were afraid that they would not be able to get it, so the price soared all the way. The final spot even soared to 3.5 million upper-grade spirit stones. Chu Feng floated all the way back to Yun Chujia's courtyard. He simply felt that everything was a dream. Yun Chujio glanced at him and said faintly, "Remember to pay Zhao Hui 50,000 spirit stones. This is the money I hired my child. Otherwise, where do you think the first few idiots came from?" Chu Feng, profiteer. A blatant profiteer. Chapter 4661. Don't go home until you're drunk. Chu Feng finally realized what had happened. He had said that the few people who had been the loudest in the beginning had kept quiet in the end. It turned out that it was junior sister Yun who had found a scapegoat. It wasn't that he was too naive, it was just that junior sister Yun's tricks were too deep. While Chu Feng was feeling emotional, he was also a little worried. Junior sister Yun, these people have spent a lot of money. If you can't satisfy them by then, I'm afraid you won't be able to be kind. Yun Chujio crossed her legs and said carelessly, "Don't worry. The money has already entered my pocket. If they want to go back, there's no way." Chu Feng, that wasn't what he meant, all right. Forget it. Junior sister Yun was full of bad ideas anyway. She might have already thought of a countermeasure. The next day, it was the day of Little Nine's banquet. The venue of the banquet was set in He Xinjia's courtyard. The hearts of the 50 people who were qualified to attend the banquet were beating fast. The atmosphere at that time was too intense. They had participated in the auction on a whim. When they calmed down, they regretted it. Although that Yun Chujio said it in a flowery manner, she had a heavenly thunder spirit root. Naturally, she was different from them. Their money would probably go down the drain. When they saw the dishes on the table, they were so angry that their noses were crooked. Other than a pot of wine, there was only a large pot of stir-fried cabbage on the table. There was nothing else. This was called a banquet? What kind of joke was this? Chu Feng saw everyone's angry gazes and secretly lamented. Junior Sister Yun, oh, Junior Sister Yun, you are too stingy. You are in charge of the 3 courtyards kitchen, so why did you get stir-fried cabbage? Just as Chu Feng was at a loss, He Xinjiu strolled out of the house. She nodded at everyone. She was just like a wolf with a big tail. Everyone forcefully suppressed their dissatisfaction and prepared to see what Yun Chuzhou would do next. After all, they were not here to eat, but to clear their doubts. Yun Chuzhou strolled to the front and poured herself a cup of wine. Then, she raised it and said, "Everyone, thank you for coming to Little Zhou's banquet. This glass is my toast to everyone. Let me drink to you first." They thought that after drinking this glass of wine, Yun Chuzhou would be able to get to the main topic. Who would have thought that she would continue to say, "Come, let us raise our cups together. We wish our nameless sword sect to become better and better, and become the #1 sect in Towering Sky Continent as soon as possible." Since they had already put down the big hat, they could not refuse, so they drank another cup. "Come, let us raise our cups together again. We wish my master to live a long and boundless life, and to live a younger and younger life." When the crowd heard this, they could only raise their cups again. The 4th glass wishes everyone to break through their shackles as soon as possible and achieve what they desire. Everyone was persuaded by He Xinjiu one glass after another. However, every time He Xinjiu proposed, they had no way to refuse. Soon, their eyes became a little blurred. They had probably forgotten the purpose of their visit. Chu Feng watched from the side. He wondered if Junior Sister Yun was trying to get these people drunk. If that was the case, Junior Sister Yun wouldn't be beaten to death after these people sobered up, right? Everyone, let's enjoy life to the fullest. Don't let the golden jar be empty against the moon. Today, let's get drunk until we return. Senior Brother Chu, come over and help us entertain ourselves with a sword dance. Chu Feng, just as Chu Feng was hesitating, Yun Chuzhou glared at him. Chu Feng thought of his marriage and had no choice but to brace himself and walk forward to begin the sword dance. Chapter 46-62, Do you want to go to heaven? Yun Chuzhou pointed at a disciple and said, "Senior brother, tell me, what troubles do you have? Let me help you solve your doubts." The disciple drank the wine in the cup in one gulp and said, "I reached the 6th level of Lingwu 3 years ago, but I haven't been able to break through until now. I suspect that I can only stop at the 6th level of Lingwu for the rest of my life." Yun Chuzhou nodded, then sighed and said, "Senior brother, you are really right. It is impossible for you to break through in your life. You should give up." Chu Feng, who was dancing with his sword, staggered. "Junior Sister Yun, are you going to the sky? If you speak like this, that person might flip over the table and beat you up." Unexpectedly, when that person heard Yun Chuzhou's words, he was first stunned, then burst into tears. Yun Chuzhou ignored him and pointed at another person. "Senior brother, what are you unhappy about?" That person laughed bitterly. "I haven't been able to comprehend a sword intent until now. I go to the waterfall at the back of the mountain every day to practice, trying to comprehend the fast sword intent, but I haven't gained anything. Senior brother, it's not that my words are unpleasant, but with your comprehension ability, don't waste your time to comprehend sword intent in the future. You will never succeed in comprehending it in your lifetime," Yun Chuzhou said with certainty. When that person heard that, he started to drink dejectedly and didn't say anything else. After that, after everyone voiced out their worries, they were all dealt a blow by He Xinjiu. They either wailed loudly or drank quietly. Chu Feng put away the treasured sword in his hand, and his heart was like a muttering dog. "Junior Sister Yun, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to become the public enemy of the sect?" Due to the high profile and weirdness of Little Zhou's banquet, many people were watching the entrance of He Xinjiu's courtyard curiously. However, when He Xinjiu had opened the isolation array, they couldn't see anything. At this moment, He Xinjiu had opened the isolation array. The people outside the courtyard craned their necks to take a look. They saw that the people who were attending the banquet were all wailing like ghosts, as if they had suffered a huge blow. Oh God, what did this Yunchujiu do? Yunchujiu said to the crowd with a smile, did you all see that? After listening to my advice, they were all enlightened and cried in excitement. Chu Feng, you're lying through your teeth. Doesn't your conscience hurt? The onlookers believed it and felt somewhat regretful. If they had known earlier, they would have gone bankrupt to bid for a qualification. At this time, Yunchujiu opened the isolation array again, blocking the sight of those people. Chu Feng came to Yunchujiu's side and said nervously, Junior Sister Yun, how can this end? When they sober up, they will definitely not let this go. Chu Feng could only stare at the people attending the banquet bitterly. He comforted himself. This was all for the betrothal gift of the little moon. It was worth it to stay up late. However, he was really worried that these people would not let him off the hook the next morning when they were sober. No matter who spent a large sum of money, they would not let it go even after they had gotten drunk. The more Chu Feng thought about it, the more he felt a headache. He sighed. If it really did not work out, he could only take a beating on behalf of Yunchujiu. After all, Junior Sister Yun was doing this for him. Under Chu Feng's worries and anxiousness, the sun had risen. The drunk people woke up one by one. First, they looked around in confusion. Then, they glared at Chu Feng. Chu Feng, where is Yunchujiu? Do you think we are fools? Chapter 46-63, Honest and unscrupulous businessman. Chu Feng's heart skipped a beat. He knew it would be like this. Junior Sister Yun, oh Junior Sister Yun, what should we do now? Everyone, listen to my explanation. Before Chu Feng could say anything, he was interrupted angrily by the crowd. Explanation? Explain what? Damn it, I spent 2 million high-grade spirit stones, and you let me drink a few cups of wine and eat a few pieces of broken cabbage? You're trying to trick us. Pay up. If you don't pay up, well, go to the sect leader and reason with him. Right, you have to give us an explanation today, or else we won't let it go. Chu Feng was anxious. At this time, Yunchujiu walked out of the room yawning and said lazily, what are you arguing about? I've already told you all my experience yesterday. What else do you want? Those people were stunned. You're talking nonsense. How come we don't remember what you said? Yunchujiu snorted coldly. Are you shameless? How can you eat, drink, and listen to me, but now you don't admit it? Yesterday, I taught you everything I've learned over the years. You all listened to me like you were intoxicated, and some of you even cried in excitement. If you don't believe me, you can go out and ask the onlookers later. They all saw your performance at that time. You guys really let me down. Get out, all of you get out. Take it as if I fed the food and wine I learned last night to the dogs. Those people were dumbfounded by He Xinjiu's scolding. Could it be that they were drunk and could not remember? At this moment, Yunchujiu removed the isolation array. Many people had gathered outside the door to watch the show. Some of them stretched their necks and shouted, Senior Brother Lu, you were crying like that yesterday. What kind of experience did you have? Old Duan, you were so emotional with snot and tears yesterday. What exactly happened? At this moment, Yunchujiu snorted and said, all of you can go back. Although the doubts in your hearts have been solved, you still need to cultivate diligently to succeed. In less than half a year, you will definitely gain something. When those people heard Yunchujiu's words, they could only leave doubtfully. Those people who were watching the show also dispersed one after another. In their hearts, they calculated that if these people were effective within half a year, they would participate in Little Nine's banquet no matter what. When Chu Feng saw that everyone had left, he had a conflicted look on his face. Junior Sister Yun, isn't it a little bad for us to do this? Yun Shujo glanced at him. What's bad about it? Isn't this a lie? You just got them drunk, and yet, you've already taken so much money from them. If they don't gain anything within half a year, they will definitely come to settle the score with us. Yun Shujo looked at Chu Fong as if she was looking at an idiot. Are you stupid? Even if a fool cultivates for half a year, they won't gain anything at all. How can they not gain anything at all? Chu Fong, too cunning. Besides, my wine is not an ordinary wine. It has been added with medicinal herbs to cleanse the marrow and bone. In addition, they had a big cry yesterday. The knot in their hearts has dissipated a little. I believe it will be effective, Yun Shujo said with a light smile. Although she was full of bad ideas, she still had a bottom line. She was an honest and unscrupulous profiteer. Chapter 46-64, Demon Sky Bell and Wooden Fish. Chu Fang's jaw dropped in shock. It was actually like this? Yun Shujo ignored the dumbstruck Chu Fong and began to eat her breakfast. Chu Fong came back to his senses and sat opposite her as he began to eat his breakfast. Junior sister Yun, I really admire you. Yun Shujo curled her lips and didn't say anything. She was the female emperor of Zephyr, the grand ghost ancestor. What was this little trick? Thinking of this fellow felt that it was hard to explain. She clearly had so many awesome identities, but now she could only be a shrimp. It was really frustrating. Thus, this fellow turned his grief and anger into appetite and scooped another bowl of porridge. Junior sister Yun, what is that on your wrist? Chu Fong asked in surprise. Due to her wide sleeves, he didn't notice that Yun Shujo had a red rope tied to both her wrists. He only saw a small bell tied to the red rope on her right hand. What was that on her left hand? Why did it look like a wooden fish? Yun Shujo was stunned when she heard Chu Fang's question. She lowered her head and looked at her own hands. She had forgotten about these two things. This fellow had the temperament of a wild goose plucking its feathers. Therefore, he had pulled a lot of good things from the ghost region and the demon region. However, when he returned to Towering Sky Continent, he was stunned to find that the origin beast pouch and storage rings from before had all disappeared. He did not expect that the demon sky clock and the wooden fish were still there. It was really strange. Yun Shujo tried to communicate with the demon sky clock and the wooden fish with her spiritual sense, but there was no response. Could it be that they had gone into hibernation? She thought for a moment. These two were treasures from the demon territory. They were probably useless in the Towering Sky Continent. So, they had gone into hibernation? Chu Fong saw that Yun Shujo was in a daze and did not say anything. He took a closer look and then asked, Junior sister Yun, could it be that you had an argument with your fiancé and wanted to become a monk? Yun Shujo glared at him. You are the one who wants to become a monk. Hurry up and eat. After you finish eating, clean up the courtyard for me. Chu Fong laughed dryly twice, but he cursed in his heart. Junior sister Yun was just a little girl, yet she brought these two things related to the temple. Was it really good? In the blink of an eye, it was time to set off for the Flying Flower Island. Since it was to attend the engagement banquet, naturally, he would not bring many people. Therefore, Master Ouyang only brought Elder Dongfang, Elder Gu, and Chu Fong. Chu Fong followed Elder Gu to the gathering place. He didn't see Yun Shujo, so he asked Master Ouyang in puzzlement, Master, why don't I see junior sister Yun? Master Ouyang looked at him in puzzlement. Little Jiao won't come with us this time, so she naturally won't come. After Master Ouyang said that, he summoned his flying spirit tool and was about to set off. Chu Fong was about to cry. Just as Chu Fong was feeling anxious, he saw He Xinzhou jumping over. Master, wait for me. How could you forget your precious disciple? Master Ouyang looked speechlessly at He Xinzhou, who had run over. What are you doing here? Cultivate well in the sect. While I'm away, you should assist Elder Duanmu well. Master Ouyang was 120 times unwilling to let He Xinzhou go to the Flying Flower Island because he knew about Chu Feng and Xiao Yu. He was afraid that his cheap disciple would ruin Island Master Qi's engagement party. He Xinzhou also knew this, so she didn't ask Master Ouyang to go with her. Instead, she caught Master Ouyang off guard. Master, how can I trust you to go out alone? If I don't have a precious disciple, who will cook for you? If I don't have a precious disciple, who will entertain you? Moreover, Little Moon and I are good sisters. I naturally have to congratulate her on her engagement. I even prepared a wedding gift for her. Please let me go with you. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I will do anything good in the sect. He Xinzhou said while blinking her eyes. Chapter 46-65. Have you received your retribution? Master Ouyang was so angry that he laughed. This little girl used both carrot and stick. It seemed that she had to go. However, he thought that this little girl was a troublemaker. It was indeed not safe for her to stay in the sect. It was better to keep an eye on her. Hence, he nodded. All right, then you can go with me. However, there is one thing. You are not allowed to cause trouble after you go. Otherwise, I will not forgive you. Yun Shujiu nodded. Master, don't worry, I will be obedient. Master Ouyang did not have much confidence in this fellow's guarantee, but he did not say anything. He summoned his flying spirit tool, and after the 5 of them went up, they set off for the Flying Flower Island. Chu Feng had a false alarm and wiped the cold sweat on his head. Thinking about how he would be able to see Xiao Yu soon, and then thinking about how Yun Shujiu said that this engagement banquet would be between him and Xiao Yu, he was extremely excited. Elder Gu saw Chu Feng foolishly laughing at the side and shook his head. This silly disciple of his couldn't have gone crazy because he was too sad, right? He Xinzhou, on the other hand, was constantly fawning over Master Ouyang by the side, pouring tea, passing pastries, and even joking around to amuse him. Master Ouyang was very pleased. He had finally chosen the right third disciple. He Xinzhou had a good impression of him for a while, then returned to her cabin to think about her next step. This time, she went to the Flying Flower Island to help Chu Feng and Xiao Yu on one hand, and on the other hand, for the beads on the Flying Flower Island. Although she did not know what the black bead was, she had a feeling that the more beads the black bead swallowed, the closer she was to the truth of her previous life. She thought of Wan Qingba again and had a question in her heart. Although Wan Qingba was a member of the Divine Devil Hall, what was the relationship between him and Lan Luochen? Did he listen to Lan Luochen, or did he and Lan Luochen belong to the two forces of the Divine Devil Hall? Thinking of meeting Lan Luochen on the Flying Flower Island, He Xinzhou felt a headache, toothache, and pain all over her body. That was a psychopath. And it was a poisonous psychopath. Just as He Xinzhou was thinking, Chu Feng knocked on the door and came in. Junior Sister Yun, we've encountered the flying spiritual weapon of the 9 pavilions. Tower Master Luochen is going to take our flying spiritual weapon to the Flying Flower Island together. The sect leader asked me to call you out. He Xinzhou wished she could slap herself. It was all because of her jinx. Master Ouyang's flying spirit tool was extremely luxurious. There was a cabin specially for guests. When Yun Shujiu entered, she was talking and laughing cheerfully. It was very amiable. Tower Master Luochen saw Yun Shujiu enter and his gaze immediately fell on her. He said with some concern, "Little Jiu, it's great that you're okay." Yun Shujiu glanced at him and was slightly stunned. Lan Luochen had obviously lost a lot of weight compared to a year ago, and his complexion wasn't too good. Lan Luochen saw that Yun Shujiu was sizing him up, and his face revealed some joy. Little Jiu was concerned about him. He looked at Yun Shujiu with anticipation, but he heard Yunchuzhou say faintly, "Tower Master Luochen, you have retribution?" Lon Luochen, Master Ouyang coughed dryly, "Tower Master, little Jiao has been running a fever recently, so she's talking nonsense." Master Ouyang sighed in his heart. Tower Master Luochen was infatuated with little Jiao, but little Jiao was clearly happy with her fiancé. Tower Master Luochen was destined to be disappointed. Chapter 46-66. Chu Fang, who was glared at Lon Luchen's eyes, instantly dimmed. He smiled bitterly and continued to chat with Master Ouyang. He Xinjiu stood behind Master Ouyang and had no intention of talking to Lon Luochen. After a while, Yun Shujiu found an excuse to go back to her cabin. She didn't want to suffer there. For the rest of the journey, besides eating, Lon Luochen didn't have the chance to see Yun Shujiu at all. Even so, his mood was much better. It was good to see little Jiu. He thought of the next plan and was a little excited. Soon, little Jiu would be able to stay by his side. A few days later, everyone arrived at the Sea of All Things. Elder Jia of the Flying Flower Island was already waiting by the seaside. After some small talk, the group boarded the ship and headed to the Flying Flower Island. He Xinjiu recalled that when she first came here, she was still an inner disciple. Now that she had become the sect leader's disciple, her heart was filled with joy. When this fellow saw the sea beasts that occasionally appeared in the sea, he thought of the group of giant winged birds in his spirit beast bag and could not help but feel a little guilty. She had never been able to find a suitable place for them to nest. The Sea of All Things forbade flying, and it wasn't suitable for them to build a nest either. The fellow decided that after this matter, she would help them find a suitable place to build a nest no matter what. This time, the group wasn't arranged to be on the guest island. Instead, they were directly arranged to be in the guest house on the main island. The hospitality of the Flying Flower Island was quite good. Elder Jia said a few more polite words before leaving. Chu Fang could not wait to find He Xinjiu. "Junior Sister Yun, what should we do next? Should we think of a way to see the little moon? What's the hurry? Perhaps Island Master Qi has already sent people to keep an eye on us. We can't act rashly. Besides, we arrived earlier than expected. The official date of the engagement party is in 3 days. No hurry, take your time," Yun Shujiu said with narrowed eyes. Although Chu Fang was burning with anxiety, he didn't dare to disobey Yun Shujiu. He could only obediently stay in the guest house. That night, Island Master Qi specially held a banquet to entertain Master Ouyang and Tower Master Luochen. He Xinjiu naturally took the opportunity to go with him. He actually dared to trick his precious disciple. He was really courting death. In his opinion, Chu Fang must have used some kind of method. Otherwise, how could such an outstanding disciple like him fall for such a good-for-nothing trash? Chu Fang felt Island Master Qi's unkind gaze. Just as he was about to cower like usual, he remembered Yun Shujiu's instructions. He gritted his teeth and straightened his back, his expression as usual. Island Master Qi was stunned. Oh, this good-for-nothing had improved this time. Every time he saw him, he would act like a mouse seeing a cat. Why did he become neither servile nor overbearing this time? Could it be that he had given up because Xiao Yu was about to be engaged? When Island Master Qi thought of this, not only was he not happy, he was even a little angry. This brat really did not have any sincerity towards Xiao Yu. Otherwise, why would he give up so easily? How outrageous. Although Island Master Qi was angry, he couldn't say anything. He just glared at Chu Fang even more angrily and started to chat with Master Ouyang and the others. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Island Master Qi looked at an old man with a smile. "Elder Diao, call Luo Feng over so that everyone can get to know each other." Chapter 46-67. Trust Xiao Jiu. get Xiao Yu. Luo Feng was Xiao Yu's betrothal partner, Elder Diao's eldest disciple. Island Master Qi originally planned to wait until the betrothal banquet to introduce Luo Feng to everyone. However, seeing that Chu Feng didn't care at all, he wanted to use Luo Feng to provoke Chu Feng and make Chu Feng feel inferior. After a moment, a young man wearing the clothes of a true disciple of the Flying Flower Island walked in. He Xinjiu sized him up. To be honest, this Luo Feng looked a bit stronger than Chu Feng, and her spirit energy was also one level higher than Chu Feng's, but so what? Little Moon liked Chu Feng, not him. Moreover, she felt that this Luo Feng's gaze was a bit erratic, making people feel uneasy and definitely not a good match. After Luo Feng respectfully bowed, Island Master Qi smiled and helped him introduce Master Ouyang and the others. Luo Feng's behavior was quite appropriate, which made Island Master Qi even more satisfied. He had carefully selected this person among the many disciples on the island, so he was naturally much stronger than that blockhead Chu Feng. Thinking of this, Island Master Qi went to see Chu Feng's expression, but he was disappointed to find that although his expression was slightly stiff, it wasn't much different from usual. How could he know that if He Xinjiu hadn't taken precautions for Chu Feng might not have been able to hold on for so long? Even so, he still felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Was this Luo Feng the person Island Master Qi had arranged for Little Moon to be engaged to? Although she was slightly stronger than him and her spirit energy was one level higher than his, so what? He had junior sister Yun. He trusted little Jiao and got Xiao Yu. Yes, that was it. At this moment, dishes and wine were served one after another. Flying Flower Island was close to the sea, so most of the dishes and wine were sea beasts or the specialties of the sea. He Xinjiu was quite happy eating. This fellow secretly made a lot of food into the spirit beast bag in a shameless manner and gave it to those dumb cuties to eat. Thus, Master Ouyang watched with a stiff expression as his precious disciple quickly finished off her table of food. He thought to himself that it was a good thing that everyone had a separate square table for this banquet, or else, it would really be too embarrassing. Others might even think that their nameless sword sect couldn't even afford to eat. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 different dishes, Island Master Qi said with a smile, "There's no point in eating and drinking so dryly. Master Ouyang, why don't we let the juniors have a competition?" Master Ouyang was also an old fox, so he naturally understood Island Master Qi's meaning. He wanted to refuse, but as a guest, it wasn't good to give face to Island Master Qi. So he could only say, "Okay, but don't go too far. That's for sure. Luo Feng, spar with Chu Feng of the Nameless Sword Sect. Be careful of your boundaries and don't injure him," said Island Master Qi. Luo Feng immediately stood up and smiled at Chu Feng. "Young Master Chu, please." Although Chu Feng knew he wasn't a match for Luo Feng, he naturally wouldn't bow to a love rival, so he stood up and walked up to Luo Feng. Luo Feng lightly smiled and said, "Young hero Chu, my spirit energy level is one level higher than yours. For fairness' sake, I'll suppress my spirit energy to the same level as yours, 4th level of Spirit Nirvana Realm, and I'll give you 3 moves." Chu Feng's face instantly flushed red. He didn't think Luo Feng was being kind and was clearly humiliating him. He Xinjia's eyes instantly narrowed. Luo Feng actually dared to bully her people. This Luo Feng really deserved to be taught a lesson. Chapter 46-68, Senior Brother Chu has gone astray, there's no need. Since it's a competition, we naturally have to do our best. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the opponent. Make your move. Chu Feng said coldly. Although he was a little dazed about Xiao Yu's matter and was crushed into dregs in front of He Xinjiu, his thoughts were very meticulous. Otherwise, he wouldn't have discovered He Xinjia's perversion so early on. He knew that regardless of whether Luo Feng suppressed his spirit energy or not, he wouldn't be a match for Luo Feng. Since that was the case, Why should he let Luo Feng have a magnanimous reputation? Luo Feng's expression froze. He thought this Chu Feng was stupid, but he didn't expect him to be a sharp-tongued person. However, the competition didn't rely on words. He would let him learn a lesson today and vent the anger in his heart. He had long coveted Xiao Yu, but Island Master Qi had originally planned to marry Xiao Yu to Tower Master Luochen, so he could only conceal his thoughts. Later on, after his various schemes, the pie finally landed on his head. However, when he thought of Xiao Yu refusing to be engaged to him because of Chu Feng, he hated Chu Feng to death. Luo Feng thought of this and did not say anything else. She immediately raised her sword and stabbed towards Chu Feng. The two of them fought and were evenly matched at the beginning. No matter what, Chu Feng was still a core disciple of the Nameless Sword sect. Although his level was lower than Luo Feng's, he would not be at a disadvantage at the very beginning. However, as time passed, Luo Feng gradually gained the upper hand. Luo Feng originally thought that she would be able to force Chu Feng to admit defeat very soon. However, even though Chu Feng suffered a few minor injuries, he did not have the intention of admitting defeat and continued to grit his teeth and endure. Luo Feng revealed a trace of a cold smile. The sword in his right hand stabbed towards Chu Feng, but water spirit energy gathered in his left hand, and a mist instantly enveloped Chu Feng. This mist was not an ordinary mist. Every drop of water within was a sharp thorn, and once it pierced through a vital point, it would be fatal. Chu Feng was greatly alarmed and hurriedly released his sword intent to block the mist. A trace of ruthlessness flashed through Luo Feng's eyes. The treasured sword in his hand stabbed towards Chu Feng's lower abdomen. If it pierced through this time, Chu Feng would definitely be heavily injured. As Luo Feng intentionally lured Chu Feng towards the door, it was already too late for Elder Gu and the others to make a move, and they could only watch as Chu Feng was injured. At this moment, Luo Feng suddenly staggered, and because he used too much strength, he actually directly fell to the ground. Chu Feng wasn't a fool and naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity. He picked up the treasured sword and slashed at Luo Feng's face that had just been raised before sending Luo Feng flying with a kick. He Xinjiu almost laughed out loud. As for why Luo Feng fell, it was naturally because of Xiao Hanio. Luo Feng quickly walked in, flustered and exasperated. His injuries were not serious, but because of the cut on his face was covered in blood and he was in an exceptionally sorry state. Just as he was about to continue, He Xinjiu said with a smile, "Island Master Qi, the victor has already been decided, so there's no need to continue the competition, right? Luo Feng had already been kicked out of the door by my senior brother Chu. If this was on the competition stage, it would be equivalent to being kicked off the competition stage, so what was the point of continuing the competition?" Island Master Qi looked at Luo Feng, whose face was covered in blood, and then looked at the calm and composed Chu Feng, and his heart felt as though it was bickering with a dog. This was completely different from what he had expected, okay? Luo Feng usually looked pretty good, but why was she so useless today? He was so angry. Chapter 46-69, Spirit Bees help. Island Master Qi, don't overdo it. Let them spar with each other in the future. Master Ouyang was secretly pleased when he saw Island Master Qi's stiff old face, but he still gave him a way out. Island Master Qi waved his hand and signaled Chu Feng and Luo Feng to return to their seats. Chu Feng calmly returned to his seat, but Luo Feng was in a much worse state. Her face was covered in blood, so she could only find an excuse to slip away. Island Master Qi only felt that he couldn't let go of the anger in his heart. He originally wanted to make Chu Feng lose face, but now, he had made him the center of attention. Island Master Qi was in a bad mood, so he forced himself to be energetic and perfunctory for a while before the banquet ended. Returning to the guest house, He Xinjiu sneakily asked Chu Feng, "Senior brother Chu, did you deliberately scratch that Luo Feng's face?" An unnatural look flashed across Chu Feng's face as he mumbled, "It was just a coincidence." Yun Shujo curled her lips. Stop pretending in front of me. However, I don't think that Luo Feng will let this go and will find trouble with you. When the time comes, you can work with him as hard as you want. Leave everything else to me. Chu Feng nodded. Without Yun Shujo saying anything, he would not show weakness to Luo Feng either. To their surprise, Luo Feng did not find trouble with Chu Feng for the next 2 days and was very quiet. Yun Shujo thought about it and understood the reason. Luo Feng's face was hurt by Chu Feng, so he was probably recovering from his injury. Otherwise, he would have embarrassed himself at the engagement party. Moreover, he only wanted to nail down the engagement and naturally did not want to cause any trouble. Junior sister Yun, tomorrow is the engagement day. Why aren't you making any movements? Chu Feng anxiously asked. What's the rush? I have my own arrangements, just wait. Hei Shinjo said with a smile. Chu Feng did not know what Hei Shinjo was up to, so he could only pray in his heart that Yun Shujo did not deceive him and that the main characters of the engagement banquet the next day would be him and Xiao Yu. After Chu Feng left, a spirit bee flew into Hei Xinjia's courtyard and landed on Hei Xinjia's palm. Hei Shinjo used her divine sense to ask the spirit bee for some information, such as where Xiao Yu's courtyard was and how many guards were guarding it. This fellow originally wanted to see Xiao Yu in person, but when he heard the news from the spirit bee, he gave up the idea. There were many guards outside Xiao Yu's courtyard, so it was impossible for her to see Xiao Yu quietly. Hei Shinjo recalled Chu Feng saying that he had broken off contact with Xiao Yu, so there was a high chance that the voice transmission talisman in Xiao Yu's hand had been confiscated by Island Master Qi. The spirit bee immediately grabbed the leaf and flew to Xiao Yu's courtyard. Xiao Yu was wiping her tears in the yard when she heard a click. She saw a storage ring wrapped in a leaf on the stone table in front of her. She looked up in surprise and saw a spirit bee flapping its wings and flying away. She picked up the storage ring and realized that there were no other people's spiritual perception imprints on it. She immediately sent her spiritual perception in and discovered that there was a voice transmission talisman, a bottle of pills and some miscellaneous items inside. Just when Xiao Yu was puzzled, the voice transmission talisman began to tremble. She quickly sent her spiritual sense into it and Hei Xinjia's careless voice came from inside. Dear little moon, do you still remember the little fairy Jiu of the Nameless Sword sect? Chapter 4670, Xiao Yu whose life was hanging by a thread. Hearing Hei Xinjia's voice, Xiao Yu's tears fell even more fiercely. She sobbed and said, So you're not dead yet? Didn't I say you were dead? Little Yu, your words are still as unpleasant as before. Let me ask you, do you want to marry that Luo Feng or Chu Feng? If you want to marry Luo Feng, they'll persuade senior brother Chu to give up completely. If you want to marry senior brother Chu, they'll help you deal with that island master Qi who broke up the couple and make him agree to your marriage. Can you really convince my master? Xiao Yu asked with a trembling voice. It wasn't that she hadn't fought back or begged before, but Island Master Qi only agreed on one thing. She could only marry a disciple of the Flying Flower Island so that when she inherited the position of Island Master in the future, more people would support her. It's a piece of cake. Let alone letting you marry Chu Feng, even if I let you marry a pig, I can still get that stubborn old fool to agree, Hei Shinjo said smugly. Xiao Yu, Hei Shinjo immediately kissed Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu's face flushed red as she felt that this Xiao Yu was becoming immoral. After Hei Shinjo and Xiao Yu finished discussing, Xiao Yu took out the bottle of pills and poured one into her mouth and swallowed it. The next morning, an old woman brought 2 maids to help Xiao Yu dress up. However, when she pushed open the bedroom door, she cried out in shock. Xiao Yu's originally jade-like face was filled with lumps of all sizes. This was nothing. The main thing was that the corner of Xiao Yu's mouth, the blanket, and even the ground was stained with blood. As for Xiao Yu, her breathing was like a thread, as though she was going to die at any moment. The old woman was so frightened that she almost lost her pulse. She scrambled to deliver the letter to Island Master Chi. Island Master Chi's head was buzzing. He originally thought that the old woman was exaggerating, but by the time he arrived, Xiao Yu was already half dead. Master, I can't do it anymore. In the future, no, I can't be filial. Xiao Yu's neck tilted after she said that and she stopped breathing. Island Master Chi reached out his trembling hand to check Xiao Yu's breathing. When he found that there was still a trace of her breath, he couldn't help but cry and shout, quickly find the doctors on the island. And then, invite Tower Master Luochen and the others over. The reason why Island Master Chi called Lon Luochen and the others over was that he was afraid that the doctors on the island wouldn't be able to find the cause of the illness. Perhaps the people from other sects would be able to find the clues. Chu Feng and He Xinjiu naturally followed them. When Chu Feng saw Xiao Yu's appearance, his eyes immediately turned red. He ignored Elder Gus' obstruction and rushed to Xiao Yu's bed. He pushed away Island Master Chi and held Xiao Yu's hand as he said with a trembling voice, "Xiao Yu, what happened to you? Don't scare me." When he saw that Xiao Yu did not react in the slightest, he looked angrily at the dejected Island Master Chi. "Tell me, how did Xiao Yu become like this? Did you force her? Tell me." Elder Gu was afraid that Chu Feng would cause trouble, so he took a step forward and struck him unconscious with a palm. He gave an apologetic glance at Island Master Chi before dragging Chu Feng to the back and placing him on a chair. The island's physician arrived very quickly, but after seeing Xiao Yu's condition, he shook his head and sighed. "Island Master, Miss Xiao Yu's condition is really rare. This old man is incompetent and is unable to diagnose the cause of the illness." When Island Master Chi heard this, his body swayed a few times and he barely managed to maintain his figure. He looked pleadingly at Tower Master Luochen and the others. "Everyone, do you have any ideas? As long as you can save my disciple's life, I will agree to any request you make." Chapter 46-71 Resentment of a Woman. There were indeed people who were proficient in medical skills among the guests, but after the diagnosis, they shook their heads and sighed. "Island Master Chi, it's not that we can't do our best. It's just that Xiao Yu's symptoms are really rare. We really can't do anything about it." Island Master Chi slumped to the ground dejectedly. How did such a happy event turn into this? At this moment, Elder Jia of the Flying Flower Island frowned and said, "Island Master, I seem to have seen this situation in an ancient book. It's just that the treatment method is a little difficult to handle." Island Master Chi's eyes suddenly lit up as he immediately jumped up and grabbed Elder Jia's arm tightly. "What method? Tell me quickly." Elder Jia sighed and said, "Xiao Yu, this is actually not an illness, but a kind of poison." "What? Poison?" Everyone was stunned. Who would have the guts to poison Xiao Yu? Island Master Chi was also stunned. "Poison? You mean someone poisoned Xiao Yu?" Elder Jia shook his head. "Although this is poison, it wasn't done by anyone, but by the poison produced in her body." Elder Jia's words made everyone even more confused. This was too roundabout. What did he mean by this? Elder Jia continued, "Only unmarried girls will get this kind of illness. It's called the poison of resentment against women. When a young girl's love is just beginning, once she has the clear qi in her body and the murky qi in her body sinks, her entire person will become even more beautiful and moving. It's precisely because of this that once her wish is unable to be fulfilled, the originally sinking murky qi will turn into a poison. Most people will only have a weak body or suffer a serious illness before dissipating. However, there will be a very small number of people with special physiques. The turbid poison is very serious, and this will endanger their lives. Moreover, the illness will take place very quickly. From the time the illness takes place to the time of death, it will only take 3 days." Everyone was dumbstruck when they heard this. This was the first time they had heard such a statement. However, they had heard rumors that many young girls had fallen ill because their families had broken up the lovebirds. There were all kinds of strange things in the world. This should be true. When Island Master Chi heard this, he was so regretful that his intestines turned green. If he knew that his precious disciple would die because he did not agree to the marriage, he would not object even if she wanted to marry a pig. He grabbed Elder Jia's arm tightly. Elder Jia, since you know the cause of the illness, you also know how to treat it, right? Quickly tell me, how can I treat her? Speak. What method is it? Island Master Chi nearly strangled him to death. What time was it? Hard to say, my ass. That, as long as someone engages in conjugal affairs with Xiao Yu and draws the poison in her body into her body, Xiao Yu will recover completely. However, the other party will suffer a great loss of vitality because of this and might even lose her life, Elder Jia said with a flushed face. Elder Jia felt as though his heart was bickering with a dog. His nonsense was naturally taught to him by He Xinjiu. No one else could think of such a wicked method. He wanted to refuse, but He Xinjiu had grasped his weakness. He did not know how the stinky girl knew that he and Luo Feng's master, Elder Jiao, were on bad terms. She kissed him, saying that if Xiao Yu married Luo Feng, then there would be no place for him in the future. Moreover, Elder Jia usually doted on Xiao Yu and did not want her to miss her lover and marry someone she did not like. Therefore, Elder Jia braced himself to help put on an act. Chapter 46-72, The Disappointed Island Master Chi. Everyone looked at each other in dismay when they heard Elder Jia's words. This was actually such a method? Although everyone was very surprised, no one suspected that Elder Jia was spouting nonsense. After all, Elder Jia had a good reputation and no one would have thought that he was colluding with He Xinjiu. Everyone's gaze fell on Elder Jiao and Luo Feng. After all, Luo Feng was Xiao Yu's betrothed. Luo Feng's face was still smeared with ointment, but in order to show off in front of Island Master Chi, he came at once. However, when he heard Elder Jia's words, he unconsciously took a few steps back. Although he coveted Xiao Yu's beauty and power in the future, he did not want to lose his little life because of this. With Xiao Yu's wretched appearance, he was not in the mood to sleep with her, not to mention that he might lose his life after sleeping with her. Island Master Chi did not know what he was thinking and eagerly looked at him. Luo Feng, since today is your engagement banquet, why don't we change it to a wedding banquet? Don't worry, I won't mistreat you. Although Island Master Chi felt that this request was a bit excessive, Luo Feng had always shown deep affection for Xiao Yu and was probably willing to sacrifice himself to save Xiao Yu, not to mention that she might not die. Luo Feng's face instantly turned deathly pale, and he stuttered, Island Master, what? You're not willing? So the things you said to me were all fake? Island Master Chi angrily shouted. Luo Feng fell to her knees with a plop. Island Master, I naturally have true feelings for junior sister Xiao Yu, but this disciple doesn't want to die. Island Master Chi was so angry that he almost died. This was the person he had carefully selected? He was really blind. He angrily shouted, Get lost. Someone, pass down the order. As long as someone is willing to use Xiao Yu's body to cure the poison, I will pass on the position of Island Master to him. Island Master Chi was fully convinced that after saying this, there would definitely be disciples who would come and help Xiao Yu cure the poison. After all, there were many disciples who were willing to marry Xiao Yu. However, he was disappointed. No one came. Because no matter how good a beauty was or how powerful she was, her life was not important. At this moment, He Xinjiu pinched the unconscious Chu Feng. Chu Feng had been unconscious for a while, so he woke up from the pain. He Xinjiu almost laughed out loud. So Xiao Yu called senior brother Chu Blockhead. It was really an image. Island Master Qi wanted to kick Chu Feng away, but his eyes lit up and he asked sternly, "Brat, let me ask you, do you really like Xiao Yu?" Chu Feng's eyes were bloodshot and he looked like he could not wait to eat Island Master Qi. "Of course, I really like Xiao Yu. Tell me, why did Xiao Yu become like this?" Island Master Qi did not care about Chu Feng's attitude and said, "Xiao Yu was poisoned by the resentful woman's poison. You only need to, just have sex with her, and her poison will be cured." "Chu Feng, are you bullying him for being a young scholar? Are you playing with him? Who are you fooling?" Elder Jia said from the side, "Island Master is right. If you want to save Xiao Yu, this is the only way. However, after the incident, your vitality will be greatly damaged and you might even lose your life." Island Master Qi glared at Elder Jia. What did he mean by saying so much? This time, this brat would definitely not agree. Chapter 4673 She is more important than my life. Chu Feng was stunned for a moment before he looked at Elder Jia. What you said is true. As long as I pass the poison onto my body, Xiao Yu will be saved. Elder Jia nodded. It's absolutely true. Chu Feng glanced at the barely breathing Xiao Yu before he stood up and walked towards the door. Island Master Qi's heart was filled with disappointment and disdain. He had already said that this Chu Feng was not sincere towards Xiao Yu at all. Just as he was thinking, he saw Chu Feng kneel in front of Elder Gu and kowtow 3 times heavily. "Master, your disciple is unfilial. I can't be filial in front of you in the future. I can't not save little Yu, because in my heart, she is more important than my life." Elder Gu wanted to say something, but in the end, he just let out a long sigh. Evil fate, evil fate. Go, I won't stop you." Chu Feng walked to Master Ouyang and knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. "I have let down the sect. Please forgive me, Master." Master Ouyang sighed and helped him up, but he didn't say anything. Chu Feng finally walked to He Xinjiu and bowed. "Junior Sister Yun, thank you for your many favors. I can't repay you in this life. I will definitely repay you well in the next life. After I die, I hope that you can help me show filial piety in front of my master. I am very grateful." He Xinjiu's nose was sour. Although she knew that Chu Feng would not die, she was still moved to tears by this fool. She choked and said, "Senior brother Chu, have you thought it through? Are you really going to sacrifice yourself to save little Moon?" Chu Feng did not respond. He just nodded and walked to Island Master Qi. He said, "Island Master Qi, I am willing to save little Moon. But I have a request. I hope that you won't force her to marry someone she doesn't like in the future, and don't force her to do something she doesn't like. Otherwise, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Island Master Qi was dazed. He could not describe the feeling in his heart. In the end, he said, "I promise you." Chu Feng nodded and said, "You can all leave now." He Xinjiu wiped her tears and sobbed, "Wait. Island Master Qi, my senior brother Chu would rather sacrifice his own life to save little Moon. He can't just fall asleep without any reason, can he? Shouldn't you give my senior brother Chu a proper identity? Are you so heartless that my senior brother Chu will die with regret?" Elder Jiyu said with tears streaming down his face, "That's right. I won't stop that foolish disciple of mine from saving people, but you should at least give us an explanation." Island Master Qi nodded. "I'll betroth Xiao Yu to Chu Feng now. If Chu Feng can keep his life this time, I'll hold another wedding for them and pass the position of Island Master to him in the future." He Xinjiu pursed her lips. That was more like it. Otherwise, wouldn't all her efforts be in vain? Elder Gu did not say another word. He only let out a long sigh and took the lead to walk out. The others also walked out. He Xinjiu was halfway through when she took out a script from her storage ring and handed it to Chu Feng. Senior brother Chu, if there's anything you don't understand, just follow the instructions above. Master Ouyang's face reddened when he saw the inappropriate scene on the cover of the script. This precious disciple of his was really difficult to explain. The others had also guessed the contents of the script. A trace of a smile flashed across Tower Master Luchen's eyes before the jealousy in his heart rose again. Could it be that she and Di Baiming would follow the instructions inside? Thinking of this, Tower Master Luchen's eyes instantly darkened, and she turned around to leave. Chapter 46-74. Getting married after everyone left, Chu Feng stared blankly at the script in his hand. In the end, he flipped through it with a flushed face. What he didn't notice was that along with the faint fragrance emitted from the script, Xiao Yu's breathing, which was already barely breathing, began to calm down. Even the knot on her face slowly became smaller. Island Master Qi was not in the mood to entertain everyone, so everyone tactfully returned to the guest house. In particular, Elder Gus' figure was staggering. If not for Elder Dongfang supporting him by the side, he might not have been able to walk. He Xinjia's conscience hurt a little, so she said, Elder Gu, didn't Elder Jia say it? It's only a great loss of vitality, and it might not be the end of his life. Senior brother Chu is very affectionate. He will definitely be fine. Elder Dongfang consoled him from the side, that's right. Chu Feng, that child, will definitely be fine. Perhaps the heavens have given them a tribulation in order to help them. Elder Gu felt slightly better after being consoled by the two of them. He prayed in his heart that his precious disciple would be safe. 2 hours later, Island Master Qi arrived at Xiao Yu's courtyard worriedly. He wanted to enter the house to take a look, but when he reached the door, he heard some sounds that made his old face blush, so he had no choice but to leave. It was not until the next morning that Island Master Qi rushed over. At the same time, Elder Gu and the others also received the news and rushed to Xiao Yu's courtyard. Xiao Yu had already returned to her original beautiful appearance and she was even more radiant due to her shyness. On the other hand, Chu Fang's face was pale and he looked sickly. When everyone saw this, they thought to themselves that Elder Jia's method was indeed effective. What was worth congratulating was that although Chu Feng looked like he had suffered a great loss of vitality, it was a blessing in disguise for him to be able to save his life. When Elder Gu saw that his disciple had survived, tears streamed down his face. Chu Feng struggled to kowtow but was stopped by Elder Gu. Island Master Qi was also very happy to see that Xiao Yu was safe and sound. After this incident, he had come to terms with it. Nothing was more important than his disciple's life. Now that things had come to this, he could only accept his fate. Immediately, the island was decorated with lanterns and the betrothal banquet turned into Chu Feng and Xiao Yu's wedding banquet. As for why Chu Fang's face was pale, it was because he was stubborn. He felt that only by doing it a few more times would he be able to completely transfer the poison in Xiao Yu's body into his own body, so he coughed. Xiao Yu and Yun Chujiu were temporarily not prepared to tell Chu Feng the truth of the matter, in case he gave himself away. That would not be good. Chu Fang's mood had been fluctuating for the past few days, and now only a silly smile remained on his face. Although Island Master Qi still had a look of disdain when he saw Chu Feng, when he thought of how Chu Feng could save Xiao Yu at the critical moment, he accepted Chu Feng in his heart. At the wedding, He Xinjiu gave the 100 million high-grade spirit stones earned from the Little Nine banquet to Island Master Qi in public, saying that this was Chu Feng's betrothal gift to Xiao Yu. Island Master Qi immediately burst into laughter, and the last bit of dissatisfaction vanished into thin air. Although Chu Feng's matter had been settled, He Xinjiu still had one more thing to do, and that was to steal the pearl. With Xiao Yu's help, He Xinjiu found out the location of the black pearl without much effort, but it was somewhat troublesome. Chapter 46-75 The tide of tens of thousands of feet strikes. According to Xiao Yu, there was a forbidden area at the bottom of the sea on the Flying Flower Island, and the bead was buried there. He Xinjiu was not afraid of water or any array formation, but the security on the Flying Flower Island was so tight that she had no way to dive to the bottom of the sea. Seeing that she was going to return the next day, He Xinjiu was extremely anxious. Although Chu Feng did not know what she wanted the bead for, he instinctively believed that she would not do anything that would harm the heavens. Junior sister Yun, why don't you ask Little Moon and Island Master Qi to let you stay for a few more days? That way, you'll have a chance to make your move. He Xinjiu's eyes lit up. Senior brother Chu was a cheerful person when it came to happy events, and he was much smarter than before. However, before Xiao Yu could go to Island Master Qi to ask for He Xinjiu to stay, something happened. That night, the wind and waves suddenly rose, and a wild tide swept over. The various islands of Flying Flower Island hurriedly activated their protective arrays to prevent casualties. Yun Chujiu had seen such a situation before and knew that it was the tens of thousands of feet tide. The nest of that group of giant winged birds had been destroyed by the tens of thousands of feet tide. However, the tens of thousands of feet tide in the sea of all things was obviously much more terrifying than what Yun Chujiu had seen before. 10 days passed in a row, but the tens of thousands of feet tide still didn't stop. Master Ouyang and the other sect masters could only stay on the Flying Flower Island. Island Master Qi, the tens of thousands of feet tide this time is a bit unusual. Normally, the tens of thousands of feet tide will only last for 3 days at most. How could it last so long this time? Besides, this voice transmission talisman can't be used anymore. It's equivalent to losing contact with the outside world. If the Divine Demon Hall takes advantage of us not to play any tricks, I'm afraid it'll be terrible. Island Master Luo of Ascension Island said with a frown. Sigh, I also feel that the tens of thousands of feet tide is a bit strange. But it's a natural disaster, and I can't do anything about it. Island Master Qi said with a sigh. His white hair had grown a lot in the past few days, and it had been rising again and again before the tide had even subsided. Why was he so unlucky recently? Everyone was frowning. The sea surface was very rough at the moment, and ships could not sail. There was also a no-fly zone here, so there was no way for them to leave the Flying Flower Island. Everyone discussed and discussed, but they could not come up with a solution. What was worse was that some of the small islands' protective arrays could no longer hold on. Moreover, as the sea level continued to rise, some of the islands had already been submerged by the sea. Island Master Qi had no choice but to have everyone move to the main island. When he saw that the foundation of the Flying Flower Island had been destroyed, his heart ached so much that he wanted to jump into the sea. However, the worst thing was yet to come. Right now, Island Master Qi could not be bothered to hide anything. He activated the water repellent bead he had obtained from the auction and dived to the bottom of the sea, wanting to investigate the cause of the island's collapse. However, he returned with serious injuries. After a round of rescue, Island Master Qi's face turned pale as he said, "There are many high-level sea beasts gathered at the bottom of the sea near the island. They are gnawing on the underwater part of the main island. It won't be long before the island capsizes." Hearing this, everyone turned pale with fright. After a discussion, the most important thing now was to kill those sea beasts. Otherwise, even if they had a protective array, they wouldn't be able to hold on for long if the island capsized. Therefore, everyone took turns diving into the sea to kill the sea beasts. Every time, there would be people who were injured or even killed. The entire Flying Flower Island was shrouded in the shadow of death. Chapter 46-76 He Xinjiu goes to the sea. Because they had to fight in the sea, the cultivators with other spiritual roots naturally could not compete with the cultivators with water spiritual roots. Therefore, the disciples of Flying Flower Island were the first to go to the sea to kill the sea beasts. Later, the situation became more and more serious. The disciples with other spiritual roots and the guests who came to the wedding also joined the battle. However, Chu Feng had not gone to the sea to participate in the battle because he was seriously wounded and had to take care of Island Master Qi, who was seriously wounded. This was understandable, but someone did not like Chu Feng. Chu Feng, the island master, is now seriously injured, and you are Xiao Yu's husband. Shouldn't you take the lead? Luo Feng said with a fake smile. He felt that Xiao Yu was originally his and the position of island master was also his. Now that it was snatched away by Chu Feng, he naturally hated Chu Feng to the bone. That was why he said this in front of everyone. If Chu Feng did not agree, then his reputation would be tarnished. In the future, after Flying Flower Island escaped danger, he would not be able to convince the masses. If Chu Feng agreed, then Chu Feng had a gold spirit root and his fighting strength in the water could not be compared to that of a water spirit root. He would most likely die in the sea. Therefore, whether Chu Feng agreed or not, there would be no good results. Xiao Yu glared at Luo Feng and said, Chu Feng has a gold spirit root, and he hasn't fully recovered yet, so he can't go into the sea. Blockhead, you stay here and take care of my master. I'll bring this group of people down to kill the sea beasts. Chu Feng naturally wouldn't let Xiao Yu take the risk. I've already recovered. You stay here, I'll go. No, you don't have a water spirit root, I'll go. Xiao Yu insisted. Luo Feng was so angry that his face was twisted. He snorted and said, stop acting. Who will go? He Xinjiu said faintly, they won't go. I'll go on behalf of senior brother Chu. Luo Feng glanced at Yun Chujiu. He hated Chu Feng, so he didn't have a good impression of Yun Chujiu. He said to himself, he wouldn't stop her if she wanted to die. At worst, he could force Chu Feng into the sea in a few days. Xiao Yu and Chu Feng wanted to stop He Xinjiu, but they saw her blink her eyes. Both of them knew that this fellow was full of evil, so they let her be. However, Master Ouyang's face was full of disapproval. After all, he only had one disciple right now, so he was afraid that something would happen to her. However, He Xinjiu wanted to participate in the battle no matter what, so Master Ouyang could only let her be. He Xinjiu was not a member of the Flying Flower Island, so she naturally could not be allowed to lead the team. In the end, Elder Jia brought He Xinjiu and more than 100 disciples of the Flying Flower Island to the bottom of the sea. Before leaving, Master Ouyang handed He Xinjiu more than 90 waterproof beads and told her to be careful. He Xinjiu's face was full of gratitude, but in her heart, she cursed that she had a lot of this damn thing, and she also had a lot of waterproof beads. However, this fellow knew the principle of the sin of possessing a treasure, so he naturally wouldn't shout it out. He Xinjiu followed Elder Jia and the others into the seawater. The seawater was turbulent, and the bottom was muddy, so they could only see things at a close distance. Elder Jia gestured for her to follow him. He Xinjiu immediately followed behind Elder Jia obediently and continued to swim deeper into the seawater. Very soon, He Xinjiu heard the roars of sea beasts and the sound of them gnawing on the rocks of the island. It was simply creepy. Of course, He Xinjiu would not be creepy. Whenever she interacted with beasts, whether it was spirit beasts, sea beasts, exotic beasts, immortal beasts, or divine beasts, this fellow would find it very amusing. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.